Chapter 436. The Divine Goal. On June 28th, the fervor of the round of 16 reignited with two matches. In the clash between the Czech Republic and Portugal, Ronaldo struck a sensational long-range shot from approximately 35 meters, securing victory for his team and eliminating the Czech squad, thus propelling Portugal into the quarterfinals. This remarkable goal brought Ronaldo's total tally to 16. In the second match, Italy triumphed over Ukraine with a resounding 3-0, courtesy of Insigne's stellar performance, earning their own passage to the last eight. All eyes were now fixed on the final day of the knockout stage. On June 29th, the European Championship reached its climax with the last day of the round of 16. The match between England and Wales electrified English supporters, with a definitive score of 2-0 ensuring England's seamless progression into the quarterfinals. The final spot was yet to be decided, contested between Spain and France. At 2100 hours, the Allianz Arena in Munich hosted the final showdown of this round, Spain versus France. These two teams had previously faced each other on the World Cup stage 2 years prior, where Spain, led by a hat-trick from Mingyu, had triumphed 3-1. It was ironic that 2 years later, they found themselves once again in the round of 16 of the European Championship, a cyclical twist of fate. Even the French fans felt a sense of hopelessness about this match. The formidable Spanish side had already showcased their elite prowess, while France was beleaguered by internal discord, raising doubts about the players' ability to compete. As the players took to the field, Spain donned their vibrant red kits and black shorts, while France appeared in white shirts and blue shorts. Today, Spain was the home team, and indeed, the crowd was predominantly in support of them. Congratulations to the host for successfully checking in at the Allianz Arena, acquiring Zidane's special skill, bald head hammer. Bald head hammer. When the host performs a header, Power 5, Balance 5. Mingyu touched his own head, his lush hair contrasting with the skill's name. With the referee's whistle, the much-anticipated match commenced. France initiated the attack, astonishingly demonstrating exceptional form, executing consecutive passes that swiftly penetrated Spain's defenses. Mbapp was no longer the elusive figure from the previous match. He showcased his prowess, using his body to shield Eric Garcia before unleashing a powerful shot. Fortunately, goalkeeper Simon reacted swiftly, deflecting the ball out of play. Right from the start, France delivered a formidable challenge to Spain. Frustrated by the missed opportunity, Mbapp smacked his forehead in dismay and shot a piercing glance at Mingyu. His demeanor sharpening, Mingyu was taken aback. The French team, seemingly on the brink of disintegration, had remarkably come together. On the sidelines, Enrique cast a glance towards the enigmatic bald figure, Zidane, realizing just how formidable his influence was in reviving this French squad. As a corner was taken, Mbapp's eyes lit up. He retreated 2 steps, calculating the ball's trajectory, and leaped, preparing for an impressive header. However, he felt as if he had collided with a wall, rendering him incapable of jumping with full force. Looking up, he spotted Mingyu towering over him, who executed a powerful header to clear the ball from the penalty area. Upon landing, Mbapp directed a torrent of complaints towards the referee, alleging that Mingyu had pushed him. Yet, the referee dismissed his grievances, having observed that Mingyu's hands were not on Mbapp, but rather that he solely relied on his physical presence, preventing Mbapp from leaping. Mbapp, gazing at Mingyu's retreating figure, felt the weight of the latter's strength and core stability pressing down on him. In the opening 10 minutes, both teams cautiously tested each other's defensive resilience. France, touted as one of the favorites to win the tournament before its commencement, exchanged blows with Spain. Mingyu's attempts to break free were thwarted twice by fouls from the opposing midfielders, who had become increasingly wary of his sudden bursts of speed. Given the distance from the goal and the minor nature of the fouls, the referee opted for a verbal warning rather than issuing yellow cards. Finally, in the 30th minute, the dynamics of the match shifted. During a Spanish attack, Mingyu's incisive pass was intercepted by a French defender, who cleared the ball towards the center circle. Mbapp, with remarkable speed, sprinted forward, intent on intercepting the ball before the defender could make contact. Standing in the center circle, Laporte hesitated momentarily, but upon seeing Mbapp's sprint, he too rushed to meet the ball. Despite Mbapp's speed, he could not outpace the ball, and Laporte, unhesitating, prepared to clear it with a powerful kick. In a split second, Mbapp extended his right foot, attempting to deflect the ball, hoping for a chance to regain possession. However, Laporte's kick sent the ball soaring toward France's penalty area. As all eyes followed the ball, the French goalkeeper, horrified, realized it was heading straight for the net. staring blankly. Laporte watched as his clearance shot soared high before plummeting rapidly, astonishingly finding its way into the opposing goal. Loris, the French keeper, knelt despondently on the ground, having done his utmost, but the ball descended too quickly, and with a wicked dip, he misjudged its landing. 1-0. This dramatic goal put Spain in the lead. All Spanish players rushed to the center circle, lifting the jubilant Laporte in celebration. Enrique on the sidelines beamed with delight. This goal was nothing short of fortuitous. A clearance had unexpectedly transformed into a goal. Such luck, one could only wish for more. Chapter 437. Can France equalize? Thanks to Laporte's extraordinary midfield strike, Spain led France 1-0. This goal left the French team momentarily stunned, causing a dip in their morale. Following the kickoff, France's offensive became increasingly aggressive. Their attacking line was arguably the most extravagant among all teams in the European Championship, featuring Martial from Manchester United, Dembélé from Inter Milan, and Mbapp from Real Madrid, with a combined market value exceeding €400 million. Yet, in the face of Mingyu, they still fell short. Currently, Mingyu's net worth has reached an impressive €500 million, yet his value remains incalculable in the market. Manchester City would never willingly part with him. However, despite boasting such an illustrious attacking lineup, the team has failed to deliver the anticipated prowess. Disappointingly, in 3 group matches, the French squad managed to score merely 1 goal, courtesy of midfielder Pogba. In this particular match, France's 3 forwards were eager to find the back of the net. Martial frequently dropped deep to receive the ball, showcasing commendable performance, particularly due to his synergy with Pogba, his club teammate. The attacking forays from Mbapp and Dembélé on the flanks were also notably incisive. Since departing Barcelona, I had struggled to find his form in Italy, but last season he seemed to awaken, once again displaying his lethal left-wing prowess. In the 20th minute, Dembélé received the ball on the left flank and executed 2 consecutive nutmegs. Although he could not completely unbalance Azpilicueta, he did induce a moment of instability in the 35-year-old veteran. At just 27, Dembélé is at the pinnacle of his career, and upon spotting a slight vulnerability, he accelerated past his opponent. Azpilicueta, no longer the formidable Chelsea defender of yore, was unable to thwart the youthful French winger. Seeing the Spanish defense breached, France's forwards surged towards the edge of the Spanish penalty area. Pogba, Martial, and Mbapp, alongside defensive midfielder Cantona, had all crossed the halfway line. The Spanish back line was instantly put on high alert. Center-back Laporte rushed to cover, attempting to force Dembélé towards the sidelines. Dembélé, glancing at the situation in the middle, deceived Laporte, who anticipated a cross, with a brilliant flick of the ball through the defender's legs. Helpless, Laporte could only watch as Dembélé glided past him, hesitating to intervene. Any attempt to do so could result in a penalty and a yellow card, or worse, a red card if the referee deemed it severe. After evading Laporte, Dembélé felt a surge of excitement. Martial and Mbapp had both raced into position, their spots impeccable, as all the defending attention had shifted towards Dembélé. A simple pass would likely guarantee a goal, given their shooting prowess. Yet in that moment, Dembélé yearned for heroism. Having participated in 2 European championships without scoring, he could not possibly relinquish such a golden opportunity. Surrounded by goalkeeper Simon, center-back Eric Garcia, Laporte, and defensive midfielder Rodri, Dembélé hesitated not a moment and unleashed a powerful shot. The instant he struck the ball, he sensed it was destined for success. As Simon rushed forward when Dembélé maneuvered past Laporte, the goalkeeper lunged, only to realize the ball was headed towards the opposite side of the net. In a moment of despair, he raised his right foot in an attempt to deflect the shot. Simon felt a glancing touch with his boot and, to his astonishment, saw the ball veer off course and strike the crossbar. He had executed a world-class save, thwarting Dembélé's effort. The commentator's voice erupted with fervor, and all Spanish fans leapt to their feet, chanting Simon's name. Conversely, the French supporters mirrored Dembélé's disbelief, holding their heads in shock. Martial and Mbapp shot Dembélé disapproving glances, incredulous that he had not passed the ball. Yet, Dembélé remained oblivious or feigned ignorance, shaking his head in disbelief, convinced that such a shot could not be saved. On the sidelines, Zidane appeared pensive, lost in thought, while Enrique stood, startled by the preceding play, shouting instructions to alleviate the tension within. France earned a corner kick, with Pogba positioning the ball at the flag. Mingyu re-entered the box. His heading prowess arguably the finest on the field. Any ball within his reach was his to claim. As Pogba delivered the corner, Mingyu anticipated it sailing towards the back post and swiftly retreated to contest the ball. Suddenly, he felt a powerful force collide with him, causing him to stumble. Nearly toppled over. At that moment, French players erupted in celebration. Mingyu, astonished, turned towards the goal to see the ball bouncing within the net. Had France scored? Mbapp joyfully spread his arms and raced towards the corner flag, embracing Pogba. However, to their surprise, the referee, after signaling for a valid goal, furrowed his brow and covered his earpiece, engaging in dialogue with the video assistant referee. Spanish players encircled the referee, indicating that the goal was questionable. The referee gestured for calm, signaling that he was communicating with the VAR. This action bewildered the celebrating French players. What was happening? Offside? A corner kick cannot be offside, as Mbapp had taken a direct shot, and no French player interfered with the goalkeeper from an offside position. Thus, it should not have been ruled offside. Then, it must be a foul. Mbapp's heart sank. Chapter 438. A masterful collaboration. After listening to the VAR's report, the referee nodded and indicated his intention to review the goal. Instantly, tension filled the air. Particularly for the French team, they huddled around the corner flag, their earlier elation replaced by anxiety as they awaited the verdict, a truly agonizing wait. The referee jogged to the video review area, donned headphones, and signaled for the VAR to replay the goal footage. After viewing the replays twice, the referee scrutinized a specific angle in slow motion and finally discovered the desired outcome. When he removed his headphones, all eyes were on him. In such moments, the referee commands the spotlight. A single word can elevate or condemn. Drawing a square in the air, he gestured that the goal was disallowed, ultimately raising his right hand to indicate a foul by the attacking team within the penalty area, awarding Spain an indirect free kick. As the result was announced, the stadium erupted. Spanish fans cheered jubilantly, having narrowly escaped disaster. The fans of the French team were utterly despondent, unleashing their fury upon the referee, vehemently accusing him of bias. The French players, equally agitated, rushed towards the officiant to express their dissatisfaction with the decision. In stark contrast, the Spanish players erupted in jubilant high-fives, celebrating their unexpected fortune. The referee, maintaining a stern demeanor, attempted to elucidate the situation to the approaching French players. During the recent video replay, viewers had already witnessed the unfolding events. As Mingyu retreated, Mbapp unexpectedly shoved him from behind, leveraging the force to propel himself backward, leaping high to powerfully head the ball towards a goal. Mingyu's mispositioning had left a critical vulnerability in the defense, making a close-range header almost certain to score unless directed at the goalkeeper's vicinity. The referee, unable to discern the foul in real time due to its subtlety, initially signaled the goal as valid. However, the presence of the video assistant referee, VAR, served to scrutinize every goal, red card, and significant infringement, leading to immediate communication with the referee upon the discovery of the foul. Since this infraction directly contributed to the goal, a reversal was mandated. Once it became clear that Mbapp was at fault and the referee issued a definitive ruling, the French players fell silent. Mbapp, however, incessantly pleaded his case to the referee, ultimately provoking an impatient response that resulted in a yellow card, silencing him at last. Yet, the fire of indignation burned fiercely in Mbapp's eyes. The disallowed goal dealt a severe blow to the French team. As the match progressed, the players' actions grew more aggressive, and the Spanish team was equally unyielding. The tension on the field escalated, prompting the referee to intermittently halt the game with successive whistles. In 10 minutes, yellow cards were issued, finally bringing about a semblance of calm among the players. In the 40th minute, the Spanish team seized an opportunity from the backline to mount a swift counterattack. Rodri passed the ball to the sideline, where Mingyu had already positioned himself. Advancing over the halfway line, he found only Moreno racing forward in the center. The French defense, however, was comprised of 5 players. As Mingyu accelerated, Pedri made a rapid run on his right. With a mere glance, Mingyu signaled for a defender to shift focus to Pedri's run. Moreno's positioning caught Mingyu's attention, and with a deft touch of his right foot, he directed the ball into the path of Moreno, who had entered the penalty area. This unexpected pass caught the French defense off guard, as typically, Mingyu would not easily relinquish the ball in such a position, preferring to complete the attack himself. The pass compelled the defender confronting Mingyu to glance back at the ball, momentarily neglecting his duty to guard against Mingyu, the world's preeminent player. After distributing the pass, Mingyu did not halt his momentum. Instead, he curved his run in the opposite direction of Moreno's movement. Moreno, fully aware of Mingyu's intentions, shielded the approaching defender with his body and gently nudged the ball backward with his right foot, allowing it to roll away. As spectators gasped in astonishment, Mingyu arrived at the top of the penalty arc, unmarked and at ease. He lifted his right foot and unleashed a powerful shot, sending the ball soaring into the far corner of the net. French goalkeeper Loris merely shifted his body slightly, watching as the ball crashed into the back of the net. 2-0. Mingyu's goal ignited the stadium into a frenzy, with Spanish fans fervently chanting his name. This collaboration was nothing short of seamless. From Pedri's incisive run to Mingyu's subtle assist and Moreno's positioning and deft touch, culminating in Mingyu's decisive strike, it captivated the audience. Such fluid teamwork presented a perfect visual spectacle. After the goal, Mingyu beckoned Moreno to join him and Pedri, and the trio embraced tightly. Although the majority of the credit for the goal lay with Mingyu, the contributions of the other two were undeniably significant. The Spanish team's frontline coordination had become remarkably adept, with even Moreno swiftly grasping Mingyu's intentions. The setup was nothing short of brilliant. With their own goal disallowed and witnessing the opposing team score, the French players were left in utter despair. In the 45th minute, as everyone focused on the fourth official's display of the stoppage time board, the referee's whistle resounded once again. Ferran Torres lay on the ground, clutching his calf and groaning in agony, while Mbapp stood nearby, panting heavily with a fierce expression. The atmosphere on the pitch reached a volatile peak, prompting Mingyu to approach with a grave demeanor. A confrontation between players seemed imminent. The referee hastened to intervene, using his whistle to restore order. However, the fiery young athletes could barely contain their tempers, resulting in unavoidable shoving and verbal altercations. Mbapp, emboldened by his yellow card, resigned to the inevitability of expulsion, sought to take down an opponent before departing. He aimed for Mingyu, attempting to break through the throng of players. Yet, the Spanish players were equally resolute. Rodri and Laporte quickly positioned themselves to shield Mingyu from reaching the scene. Understanding that his teammates were protecting him, Mingyu refrained from forcing his way through and instead approached the sideline Ferran Torres, crouching beside him. "Ferran, how are you feeling?" he inquired. Torres grimaced through gritted teeth. "That Mbapp kid played dirty. Fortunately, I reacted quickly. Otherwise, my leg would surely be broken. But it seems this match is over for me." A shadow of despair flitted across Torres's eyes as he felt the tremors in his calf, indicating a serious injury that could spell the end of his European Cup aspirations. As Mingyu observed the team doctor rushing over, he stood and approached the referee. Upon arrival, the referee swiftly produced a red card. Gesturing towards Mbapp without the customary transition of 2 yellows to a red, banishing him from the field with a single decisive motion. Mbapp wore a defiant expression, continuing to exchange heated words with the Spanish players. Reluctantly, he descended from the field, aided by several teammates who pulled him away. As he walked, he removed his jersey, his face a mask of resentment, passing by Zidane without a word exchanged, not even a glance. Zidane had long been exasperated by the antics of this troublemaker, and Mbapp harbored deep dissatisfaction over Zidane's earlier decision to suspend him. Their relationship had soured, and it was clear that one of them would depart from the French national team following the conclusion of the European Championship. The first half of the match swiftly came to an end, and it was evident to all that the French team was in dire straits. Indeed, as the second half commenced, the 10-man French side found themselves trapped within their own 30-meter zone. The Spanish team, well acquainted with such scenarios, took full advantage. Mingyu orchestrated the midfield, deftly maneuvering the French defense. With their morale already at a low ebb, the French players struggled to muster any enthusiasm. Continuous ball circulation created vast gaps in the French midfield and defense. Mingyu executed a precise through ball aimed at 4 French defenders, yet none could intercept it. The ball found its way to Moreno, who had successfully evaded the offside trap. In response to Mingyu's brilliant pass, Moreno did not betray that trust. With a deft touch of his right foot, he sent the ball into the French net. The score now stood at 3-0, a goal that effectively sealed the match. Following his goal, An elated Moreno rushed to embrace Mingyu, celebrating his first goal of the European Championship. "Thank you, Li," he exclaimed, enveloping Mingyu in a tight hug, to which Mingyu responded with hearty laughter. Moreno had only stepped into the role of a starting striker due to the exclusion of the previous first-choice forward, Morata. This player, hailing from the esteemed La Liga club Villarreal, possessed a well-rounded skill set and formidable physique. Last season, he ranked 4th in the league for goals scored and was pivotal in Villarreal's ascent to the top 4. It was Enrique's decision to replace Morata with him as the central striker. Although Moreno had not scored in the previous 3 matches, his movement and playmaking had already earned Mingyu's admiration. Mingyu found Moreno reminiscent of his Manchester City teammate, Jesus. In the 60th minute, the winger Fatty, who replaced Ferran Torres, received a cross from Moreno on the left flank and delivered an accurate cross into the box. Mingyu, stealthily entering the penalty area, directed a header towards Pedri, who was flanked by defenders on both sides, rendering him unable to shoot directly. Consequently, he laid the ball back to Mingyu. Seizing the opportunity, Mingyu struck from a tight angle, sending the ball through the goalkeeper's legs and into the net. After scoring, Mingyu sprinted towards the sideline, arms outstretched toward the fans, letting out a triumphant roar. With 2 goals to his name, he was subsequently substituted by Enrique. Across 4 matches, Mingyu's tally for the European Championship reached an astounding 10 goals, an extraordinary scoring efficiency that left everyone in awe. In the overall goal standings of the tournament, aside from the legendary Ronaldo, who scored 14 goals across 6 European championships, Mingyu had quietly ascended to 2nd place. He surpassed Platini's record of 9 goals, achieved during the 1984 European Championship in France, a record long considered insurmountable. Platini's remarkable feat occurred during a tournament with only 8 participating teams, where he netted 9 goals over 5 matches, including 2 hat-tricks in the group stage and a decisive goal in the semifinals, culminating in a free kick that opened the scoring in the final, leading France to lift the Henri Delaney Trophy on home soil. The quarterfinals pitted France against England in a highly anticipated showdown. As the match concluded after 90 minutes, the score of 5-0 left the French team utterly humiliated. While few believed France could contend with Spain for long, the match's dynamics and outcome surprised many fans. The opening goal from Spain, described by Laporte in an interview as a divine gift, marked a pivotal moment. French players felt the referee exhibited bias toward Spain, asserting that a crucial goal disallowed could have altered the course of the match. However, video evidence clearly showed that before the disallowed goal, Mbapp had aggressively shoved Mingyu, an act so forceful that it nearly toppled the ladder. Yet, the most significant post-match news was Mingyu surpassing Platini, becoming the highest single-tournament goal scorer in European Championship history. Platini's greatness lay in his 9 goals over 5 matches, an efficiency that commanded respect. Despite the tournament expanding over the years, no player had surpassed Platini's record until Mingyu shattered it within just 4 matches, raising the benchmark to 10 goals. Should the Spanish team advance to the final, Mingyu could potentially challenge Ronaldo's total of 16 European Championship goals, especially considering he had already achieved 2 hat-tricks. The spotlight of the entire tournament now rested firmly on the Spanish team, particularly on Mingyu. With all 8 quarterfinal teams determined, the matchups emerged as follows. In the upper bracket, Denmark faced Hungary, and Portugal took on Italy. In the lower bracket, the Netherlands clashed with Belgium, while Spain met England. Each of these 4 matches promised to be an exhilarating contest. Among these 8 teams, with Hungary ranked lower than the rest, the other 7 are all positioned within the top 15 in the world. Following this European Championship, it is likely that Hungary's world ranking will see a significant improvement. Upon learning that the England team would face Spain, the English media began to express some pessimistic sentiments. The English media possesses a peculiar nature. Often, when the England team competes abroad, it is these very outlets that undermine their own team as prospects. It seems these individuals are constantly watching Mingyu play and have noted his impressive form during this European Championship, leading them to believe that England's chances are slim this time around. However, England's coach Southgate asserted that while Mingyu is indeed formidable, the England team boasts some of the finest players and tactics in the world. Throughout their journey, England has demonstrated its capability as a title contender, and the outcome of this match remains uncertain. 4 days later, the matches in the upper bracket commenced. On July 3rd at 1800 hours, the 2 dark horses of this tournament, Denmark and Hungary engaged in an intense battle. Although Hungary has not made a notable mark in the history of the European Championship, Denmark has a history that astonishes. The Danish fairy tale is not merely a charming story for children. In the realm of football, it is a tangible narrative of dreams realized. In the 1992 European Championship, due to the war in Yugoslavia, Denmark became the fortunate substitute to compete. Due to the hastily assembled team, their strongest midfielder, Laudrup, could not join. In the first two group matches, Denmark performed modestly, drawing against England, who had Lineker and Platt, and then losing 0-1 to the host nation, Sweden. In the final group match, Denmark narrowly defeated France 2-1, advancing to the knockout stage. At that time, the tournament featured only 8 teams. Thus, Denmark had already equaled their best performance in the European Championship by reaching the semifinals. Nevertheless, few would have believed that such a stumbling team could go far, especially as they were set to face the Netherlands, a team boasting the three musketeers, Gullit, Van Basten, and Rijkaard, at the peak of their prowess, along with the emerging star, Bergkamp. Yet, surprisingly, Denmark took the lead in that match, with Bergkamp quickly equalizing for the Netherlands. Denmark's Larsen and Rijkaard both scored, leading to a penalty shootout to determine the victor. At this juncture, Denmark's goalkeeper, Schmeichel, emerged as the hero, saving a penalty from Van Basten, which propelled Denmark into the final. There, they faced one of the strongest teams of the era, Germany. Astonishingly, Germany posed no significant challenge to Denmark, resulting in a 2-0 scoreline and 5 yellow cards for the Germans, solidifying the Danish fairy tale as a legendary chapter in the history of the European Championship. The last to arrive at the banquet claimed the entire cake, etching a classic moment in football history. The roundness of the ball signifies that anything is possible. One must never underestimate any opponent nor resign in the face of adversity. In this tournament, Denmark emerged once more as the ultimate dark horse, defeating Hungary 2-1 and advancing to the semifinals. Despite their defeat, Hungary earned respect by emerging from the so-called group of death and securing a place in the top 8, a commendable achievement indeed. The Danish fairy tale continues. 3 hours later, another quarterfinal in the upper bracket commenced, featuring Portugal against Italy. The current Italian team is replete with outstanding stars and is a strong contender for the title in this tournament. The match was fiercely contested, with both teams exchanging opportunities. Yet the elusive goal seemed just out of reach. However, in the world of football, there is a saying, one may doubt the earth's roundness, but one can always trust that man. In the 87th minute, that man stepped forward. In the quarterfinal between Portugal and Italy, the two teams battled for nearly 90 minutes. And as the prospect of extra time loomed, even the coaches began to strategize for the impending overtime. At this critical juncture, Ronaldo, having exhausted himself and not participating in Portugal's defense due to his age of 39, focused his limited energy on the offensive front. In the 87th minute, F made a sudden breakthrough in the center, unleashing a powerful shot just outside the penalty area that soared towards the goal. At that moment, all eyes were fixed on the net, but one man did not halt his advance. He surged through the crowd towards the goal. The Italian defenders, realizing the situation too late, were unable to recover in time. F's shot, while not particularly angled, struck the ground and rebounded, leading to a misjudgment by goalkeeper Donnarumma, whose hands failed to secure the ball as it ricocheted off his chest. In a moment of panic, Donnarumma scrambled to reclaim the ball, but Ronaldo, already in motion, descended like a divine force, deftly nudging the ball past Donnarumma. 1-0, Portugal took the lead. However, the Italian players raised their arms in protest, claiming Ronaldo's goal was offside. Ronaldo glanced at the assistant referee, who did not raise the flag, yet the referee hesitated to validate the goal immediately, escalating tension on both sides. Was the goal legitimate? Or was it offside? After conferring with the video assistant referee, the main referee decided to review the footage. In the video review area, the referee donned headphones and scrutinized the replay. The determination was straightforward. At the moment F shot, was Ronaldo in an offside position? After 2 slow-motion replays, the referee confirmed Ronaldo's position and rendered a judgment. The goal stood. Although it appeared that Ronaldo had sprinted ahead of everyone to reach the ball, he was merely a step behind the last defender at the moment of F shot. This goal effectively sealed the match. Following the goal, Portugal fortified their defense, steadfastly protecting their hard-won victory. With Ronaldo's dramatic strike, Portugal narrowly advanced to the semifinals, and he raised his total goal tally 17. However, the Portuguese team faced a wave of criticism from domestic media. Ronaldo, now 39 years old, finds it challenging to shoulder the weight of the team, as the younger players are yet to rise to the occasion. All offensive efforts still hinge on this man. In a post-match interview, Ronaldo appeared pale and breathless, evoking deep sympathy. He is no longer the youthful prodigy he once was. Age has begun to reveal itself, prompting a sense of nostalgia and lamentation. Nevertheless, attention swiftly shifted to the following day's match. On July 4th at 1800 hours, the quarterfinals of the European Championship commenced. Netherlands versus Belgium. The performance of the Dutch team this year has exceeded many expectations. The current squad lacks the illustrious stars of yesteryears. While players like Depay, De Jong, De Ligt, Wijnaldum, and Van de Beek are commendable, there seems to be a missing element, a player capable of delivering the decisive blow. However, in this edition of the European Championship, such a player has emerged, Depay. After a year of honing his skills in Barcelona, Depay seems to have embarked on his path to stardom. He has already netted 5 goals in the tournament, ranking second on the scoring chart. Depay stands as the sharpest spear of the Dutch team, while Belgium's equivalent is the rejuvenated Lukaku, who has also scored 4 goals, placing third. When these two teams, known for their distinct offensive styles, clashed, a visual spectacle was anticipated. Yet, disappointingly, both teams played conservatively from the outset. Depay and Lukaku positioned themselves at the forefront, creating numerous opportunities through their individual prowess. Yet the scoreboard remained untouched. The match extended through 90 minutes of regular time and an additional 30 minutes of extra time without a single goal. Thus, it culminated in a penalty shootout, the first of its kind in this tournament. In typical fashion for major international competitions, penalty shootouts are common in knockout stages. Yet this was the inaugural instance in the quarterfinals of this European Championship. In the first 4 penalties, all players from both teams successfully converted. Lukaku was the last to step up for Belgium. With a subtle change of rhythm, he deceived the opposing goalkeeper and found the back of the net, placing all pressure on the Dutch team. The final Dutch player to attempt was their captain, Wijnaldum. Standing before him was Courtois, keenly assessing the direction of Wijnaldum's shot. At the referee's whistle, Wijnaldum commenced his run, but as he struck the ball, a look of terror washed over his face. Courtois had accurately anticipated the shot's angle, and Wijnaldum's execution was disappointingly poor, easily favored by the goalkeeper. With a flash of determination, Courtois deflected Wijnaldum's penalty away, witnessing the ball soar from the box. Wijnaldum seemed to lose his spirit, standing motionless, while Courtois leapt into the air, embracing his teammates who surged from the sidelines. Through this penalty shootout, Belgium secured their place as the third team to advance to the semifinals. At 2100 hours, the final quarterfinal clash of the European Championship drew the attention of countless fans worldwide. Spain versus England. Both teams are perpetually linked to notions of strength and championship aspirations. England, in particular, has consistently been viewed as a favorite to win in both the European Championship and the World Cup. Yet, since their triumph in the 1966 World Cup, they have not secured a title in either tournament. Chapter 442. The most spectacular goal in European Championship history at 2100 hours. The Rhein-Energy Stadium welcomed the Spanish team clad in red and the English team in white. With a capacity of 50,000, the stadium was filled to the brim, the stands divided distinctly into red and white sections. English fans gazed at the young player leading the Spanish team with mixed emotions. Mingyu, having played in England for 2 years, has become an idol to many, particularly in Manchester, where even numerous Manchester United supporters admire him. Mingyu has captured the hearts of the entire nation through his prowess. Now, as he stands before his home team, many English fans find it difficult to harbor any ill feelings toward him. Conversely, Spanish supporters expressed discontent over his departure for England, though this sentiment was not directed at Mingyu himself, but rather at Barcelona and Manchester City. If not for their clandestine dealings, such a talented player would not have left his homeland. Thus, the atmosphere between the fans was charged. The German authorities took this match seriously, deploying thousands of police officers to the stadium to separate the rival fans. After all, English football hooligans have gained notoriety worldwide. Few nations can rival their reputation. Aside from Russian supporters, the match commenced under this heated atmosphere. Congratulations to the host for signing in at the Rhein-Energy Stadium, receiving the iconic goal card from England legend Paul Gascoigne during the 1996 European Championship single-use. Mingyu could not hide his surprise. Such single-use cards are exceptionally powerful, and it appears he must replicate Gaz's historic strike etched in European Championship lore. It is worth noting that Gascoigne's goal remains one of the most iconic in the tournament's history. As the referee's whistle signaled the start of the match, England fielded an impressively strong lineup. Goalkeeper Henderson is set to return to Manchester United as their first-choice keeper next season. The defense featured Luke Shaw, Stones, Maguire, and Walker. In midfield, Rice from West Ham and Phillips from Leeds partnered up. Mount, Sancho, and Sterling made up the attacking midfield trio, with Harry Kane leading the front line. This 4-2-3-1 formation has showcased England's impressive competitive standard throughout the tournament. England kicked off the match. Over the years, their attack has evolved into a more nuanced style, no longer characterized solely by long balls and aerial challenges. The current England team has retained its traditional strengths while demonstrating significant improvement in short passes and penetrative play. The English Premier League, as the world's Premier League, has attracted top-tier talent and introduced the finest tactical approaches to the land, elevating England's tactical sophistication to unprecedented levels. Regrettably, today, both teams vying for the championship must face off to determine a victor, which is indeed a lamentable situation. The Spanish team's defense is exceptionally tight, and Mingyu is quite familiar with the English players, having already discussed defensive strategies with his teammates prior to the match. The Spanish backline remains remarkably reliable. Harry Kane, in frustration, sits on the ground, raising his hand towards the referee to signal a foul, yet the referee remains unresponsive. Observing Mingyu's silhouette in midfield, Kane internally laments that his habits must have been disclosed to the opposing defenders by Mingyu. Additionally, tasked specifically with marking Kane is his Manchester City teammate, Laporte, who, while not fully aware of Kane's every move, possesses a considerable understanding of his playing style. Consequently, Kane finds himself repeatedly thwarted by Laporte whenever he attempts to seize possession. As time swiftly passes, 20 minutes have elapsed without any alteration in the scoreline. Though the rhythm of the English team has noticeably slowed, maintaining prolonged focus is a challenge for any team, even the Spanish squad. However, with Mingyu's relentless forward runs, the English defense feels the pressure. In the 23rd minute, Kane finds a shooting opportunity just outside the penalty area. Though the opening is narrow, he manages to create space for a shot. Nevertheless, due to Stone's close marking, Kane's attempt appears feeble. The goalkeeper, Simon, easily gathers the ball and, surveying the field, sends a powerful kick down the left flank. On the left, Ferran Torres expertly controls the ball with his chest. Yet the English defense is well positioned, with midfielder Rice closely shadowing Torres to prevent an immediate offensive turn. Instead of pivoting, Torres skillfully flicks the ball with his right foot, sending it soaring toward the edge of the English penalty area. Rice, glancing back, gasps in surprise, for he finds Mingyu has inexplicably positioned himself at the edge of the box on the left flank. Fortunately, he is surrounded by two defenders, and another is closing in from the center. At that moment, Mingyu's eyes gleam with realization as he recalls the card he received at the beginning of the match. Shimmering in his mind, the Paul Gascoigne goal card from the 1996 European Championship. In a flash of brilliance, Mingyu, anticipating the incoming ball, lifts his left foot as if to execute a powerful volley, prompting his Manchester City teammate Stones to instinctively prepare for a block. Yet as the ball descends, Mingyu deftly flicks it, allowing it to gracefully arc over Stones' head. Without missing a beat, he glides past Stones with the elegance of a whisper. As Stones attempts to pivot and re-engage in defense, his body betrays him, and he finds himself seated within the penalty area, staring incredulously at Mingyu's retreating figure. Mingyu gazes up at the descending ball, raising his right foot to unleash a stunning volley that strikes the English goal as if propelled by cannon fire. 1-0. With this extraordinary goal, Mingyu heralds Spain's lead. Chapter 443. The tenacious Harry Kane at the Rhine Energy Stadium. Spectators are left in stunned silence as they witness this remarkable moment. Ferran Torres' pass was precise, yet the execution was anything but simple. Had Mingyu opted to control the ball, he would have found himself ensnared by 2 or 3 defenders, necessitating a series of intricate maneuvers to continue his attack. However, in an unexpected display of skill, Mingyu deftly flicks the ball, seamlessly combining control and evasion. Even Stones, his club teammate, could not fathom such a clever maneuver, rendering him helpless. Remarkably, the ball, after leaving Torres' foot, never touched the ground before crashing into the net. Mingyu required merely 2 touches to send the ball into the opposing goal, leaving many English fans in a state of unease as the goal resonated with a haunting familiarity. In the stands, an elderly gentleman, his hair a snowy white, suddenly reveals a look of shock, tears cascading down his face. If the camera were to capture his visage, few would recognize him. He is none other than Paul Gascoigne, once heralded as England's most gifted player. At 57, Gascoigne appears aged beyond his years, with graying hair and a distant gaze, the toll of alcoholism evident in the tremor of his right hand. Yet, upon witnessing Mingyu's goal, Gascoigne's once distant eyes spark with renewed life, as long-buried memories resurface. The 1996 European Championship, often regarded as dull and defensive, was illuminated by Gascoigne's brilliance, etching itself into the annals of football history. His iconic goal, followed by a memorable celebration, remains etched in the minds of fans. After scoring that audacious goal, Gascoigne lay on the grass, while Sheringham playfully poured a sports drink into his mouth, proclaiming, "I'll drink and win." Gascoigne reflects on those days, watching the young player adorned in the red number 10 jersey. Youth is indeed a blessing. However, the number of individuals who remember Gascoigne is dwindling, as his talent has been overshadowed by his reckless temperament and struggles with alcohol. Mingyu's goal evokes memories of that infamous English rogue, prompting a wave of nostalgia among seasoned commentators. Following the restart, the English team's spirit is evidently shaken by the recent goal. Eager to equalize, they falter in their passing, as Mount misplaces a ball meant for Sancho due to a miscommunication. Sancho anticipated a ground pass, but Mount sent a direct through ball instead. Realizing he could not reach it, Sancho raised his hands in exasperation, halting in his tracks. Seeing Sancho give up the chase, left-back Alba also slows his pace, glancing over his shoulder to confirm no one is pursuing as he prepares to let the ball roll out of play. However, suddenly, Alba heard the exclamations of his teammates nearby. He glanced at the center of the field and saw the opposing striker, Harry Kane, striding forward. Although the football was perilously close to the sideline, Alba hastened his pace, determined to escort the ball out of play before Kane could reach it. With approximately a meter remaining to the boundary, both Kane and Alba were in position. Alba leaned toward Kane, attempting to use his body to block him, thereby ensuring the ball would cross the line. Yet, Kane executed a swift turn, leaving Alba grasping at thin air. In a moment of staggering realization, Alba discovered that Kane had already gained control of the ball just before the sideline. This scene evoked a collective gasp from the audience. Kane, not known for his speed, had covered nearly 20 meters to salvage a ball that seemed destined to go out of bounds, moving the English fans to the brink of tears. Upon seeing Kane seize the ball, the English players rushed forward, eager to support or position themselves for a potential pass. Kane assessed the situation in the penalty area and delivered a cross. From the flank, a former Manchester City player, now a joyous member of Paris Saint-Germain, surged in, confronting the disoriented Spanish defense. With a powerful header, he directed Kane's cross into the net behind goalkeeper Simon. The score was level at 1-1, igniting an eruption of excitement within the Rhine Energy Stadium. The English supporters waved their scarves and jerseys, vocally expressing their exhilaration. England's coach, Southgate, embraced his assistant coach in sheer jubilation. The goal was nothing short of miraculous. While Sterling was credited with the goal, everyone understood that without Kane's relentless pursuit of the ball, this moment would never have transpired. Even Mingyu couldn't help but applaud Kane's effort, noting that he had never witnessed such tenacity from him at the club level. This goal created an awkward atmosphere for 2 individuals. One was Alba, now 35 years old, who faced the reality that this might be his last World Cup, marred by a significant error leading to his team's concession. With hands on his hips, he shook his head in resignation. The other was Nacho, who had abandoned his chase for the ball. Upon witnessing Kane's interception, Nacho hurried forward, eager to support him. However, Kane's immediate cross left Nacho without the chance to redeem himself. While the goal brought joy, the awkwardness on Nacho's face was captured by the cameras. Chapter 444, Henderson, step aside and witness my performance. This goal served as a potent tonic for the English team, instantly revitalizing their spirit and determination. It was evident that the intensity of the English midfielders had significantly increased. The Spanish team's passing was no longer as fluid, hindered by the intensified English pressure. Just as it seemed both teams would engage in a prolonged battle, England's traditional flair re-emerged on the field. Spain launched an offensive down the wing. Ferran Torres, after evading a defender, found a narrow opening to pass the ball into the penalty area. The initial touch was intercepted by an English defender, but, oddly, the ball redirected toward the goal. This slow-moving ball posed little threat to the goalkeeper, and no Spanish players were present to apply pressure. Yet, an unexpected twist unfolded. Whether due to a misjudgment by goalkeeper Henderson, who assumed the ball would sail over the crossbar, or perhaps the glaring lights of the Rhine Energy Stadium, his leap was insufficient. As the ball descended beneath the crossbar, Henderson inadvertently palmed it into the net. This unforeseen goal left not only the English players stunned, but also the Spanish team in disbelief. Mingyu nearly burst into laughter. Witnessing Henderson's chaotic attempt to clear the ball, reminiscent of a clumsy comedian performing a silent skit. Nevertheless, after a brief moment of silence, the Spanish players embraced the gift with excitement. Ferran Torres exclaimed, "This goal is my doing." Mingyu nodded, conceding, "All right, you can claim half an assist." England's coach Southgate was left agape, as such blunders shattered his expectations. Just as his team had equalized, Henderson offered a monumental gift to the opposition, inflicting a heavy psychological blow. Goalkeeper errors often usher in greater crises, fostering distrust among teammates. Henderson, resigned, retrieved the ball from the net, launching it with a powerful kick as if to expel the misfortune he had just encountered. The defenders offered their silent support, patting his shoulder. With determination, Henderson clapped his hands together and bellowed, rallying his spirits. Observing that Henderson remained unshaken by his previous mistake, Southgate exhaled in relief. Historically, England's goalkeepers have faced a cursed fate, frequently succumbing to blunders in major tournaments. One could only hope that this setback would not overshadow the remainder of the match. As the game approached the 45th minute, the smooth flow of play allowed the referee to allocate only 1 minute of stoppage time. The final attacking opportunity fell to the English side. Nacho's cross, after a breakthrough, was intercepted by Laporte. The ball, cleared, landed at Rodri's feet. Rodri, glancing forward, executed a long pass aimed at Mingyu, who had surged toward the edge of the English penalty area. However, Rodri's execution proved average, allowing the ball to fall within the control of the opposing defender, Stones. Stones, using his body to shield Mingyu, deftly redirected the ball to goalkeeper Henderson, quickly repositioning himself to provide an angle for the pass. Yet, Mingyu did not halt his advance. Instead, he charged forward with greater ferocity. As Henderson spotted the oncoming Mingyu, a flicker of panic surged within him. He intended to pass to the wide-open Stones, but in a moment of miscalculation, he struck the ball with his less adept left foot. To his horror, the ball soared high, heading straight for the advancing Mingyu. Mingyu's eyes lit up with excitement, exclaiming, "Good buddy, well played." After Henderson released the ball, he stood frozen in place, watching as Mingyu executed a stunning volley. The football soared over Henderson's head, landing squarely in the goal behind him. The score was now 3-1, and the Spanish team had once again widened the gap. Henderson could not bear to look back, for he saw Mingyu, his face alight with joy, rushing towards his teammates. He realized that he was utterly doomed. In a single match, he had made 2 critical errors, aligning himself with Karius, the most unfortunate goalkeeper in Champions League history. Yet, Karius had faltered twice in a Champions League final, relinquishing the trophy. This was merely a quarterfinal of the European Championship. Nevertheless, amidst the deafening cheers, the waves of angry boos rendered Henderson too ashamed to lift his head. The players of the English team fell silent. They never anticipated that their own goalkeeper would be their downfall. After finally leveling the score, Henderson had gifted the opposition 2 goals in return. "For every goal we scored, you conceded 2. How generous of you." The referee blew the whistle, signaling the end of the first half. The Spanish players, filled with mirth, strolled into the players' tunnel in small groups. In stark contrast, the English players trudged in, heads hung low, hastening into the tunnel. Henderson, accompanied by the captain, left the pitch amid a cacophony of boos and insults. The first half of this quarterfinal had already been a spectacle, with all the dramatic moments unfolding. First, Mingyu's homage to classic football with a miraculous goal, followed by Harry Kane's tear-jerking sprint of 20 meters to assist Sterling in equalizing. At this point, The fans felt their tickets had already been worth it. However, to their dismay, Henderson, the English goalkeeper, stole the limelight with his blunders. One fumbled save gifted the opposition a goal, and then, more egregiously, he presented the ball directly to Mingyu as if challenging him to score. Mingyu had never encountered such an invitation before. With a powerful strike, he sent the ball straight into the English net. Although the score of 3-1 was not insurmountable, it had psychologically shattered the English team. In the Spanish dressing room, laughter and song filled the air, for few had the fortune to witness such an absurd match. In the first half, the opposing goalkeeper had gifted 2 heavy goals, inciting a sense of embarrassment among them. Mingyu sat beside Ferran Torres, who was mimicking Henderson's clumsy antics, drawing laughter from the group. Mingyu shook his head, chuckling heartily. Henderson's performance today had surely earned him the title of scapegoat for the English team. Initially, Mingyu had felt a twinge of guilt towards England, but with Henderson's blunders, that guilt transformed into gratitude. What a good person Henderson was. In the other dressing room, however, a grave silence reigned, akin to a graveyard. Henderson sat before his locker, cradling his head in his hands, not daring to lift his gaze. The other players wore expressions of helplessness, their disappointment palpable. Coach Southgate entered, and upon witnessing the disheartening scene, he sighed inwardly. He had experienced such feelings before. Back in the fairy tale-like Euro 1996, England faced Germany in the semifinals, leading to a penalty shootout to determine the victor. All 6 penalty takers from both teams had scored. Southgate was the 7th English player to step up, only for his shot to be saved by German goalkeeper Kay Pike, resulting in England's elimination. The German team, having advanced to the final, was defeated 2-0 by Denmark, thus creating a fairy tale of their own. The moment Southgate missed that penalty was one he could never forget, especially as Denmark's victory cast his name into the spotlight. Would England have won the Euro 1996 title had Southgate converted that penalty? This question remains unanswered, yet it is a lasting pain in Southgate's heart. Observing Henderson's despair, Southgate understood that the young goalkeeper's mental fortitude had been shattered. It would be difficult for him to muster the courage to stand in goal again in the second half. Nonetheless, as a coach, he approached Henderson, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. As Henderson looked up, bewildered, Southgate's heart clenched at the sight of such hollow, helpless, and fearful eyes. "Gentlemen, you shall not take the field in the second half. Rest well in the dressing room," he softly advised. Upon hearing this, Henderson's eyes brightened slightly, a flicker of embarrassment and relief crossing his face, accompanied by a wry smile and a nod. Southgate acknowledged him, stating, in the second half, "Johnstone will take the field." The atmosphere lightened considerably as it became evident that the players felt relieved. Despite their reluctance to admit it, Henderson had lost their trust entirely. Although Johnstone's abilities were open to question, he was undoubtedly a safer option than leaving a ticking time bomb in goal. Outside, Johnstone donned his goalkeeper jersey, warming up alongside some substitute players. After the first half concluded, Coach Southgate signaled for him to remain on the field to prepare for the second half. Despite having been called up to the national team for 3 consecutive tournaments, he had yet to see a minute of play. The goalkeeper position differs significantly from others. If the starting goalkeeper performs exceptionally well, the backup is left in despair, forever waiting for their chance. Just like Italy's legendary Buffon, who has overshadowed many talented Italian goalkeepers. Although facing a formidable Spanish team, Johnstone's competitive spirit ignited. At 31, he currently served as the primary goalkeeper for West Bromwich Albion in the Premier League. As he warmed up, he couldn't help but feel exhilarated. If he performed well in the second half, he might just secure the position of England's starting goalkeeper for the future. Given the magnitude of Henderson's blunders, even if he maintained his composure, returning to Manchester United may not restore his former brilliance. As expected, the second half commenced with England making substitutions, with Johnstone replacing Henderson, who did not even emerge from the dressing room. The English fans responded to the change with warm applause. Henderson's 2 blunders in the first half had left the traveling supporters disheartened. During halftime, they could hear the jubilant Spanish fans singing and dancing, their own frustrations unexpressed. The referee's whistle signaled the commencement of the second half. The Spanish team swiftly initiated an offensive maneuver. Mingyu observed the newly substituted goalkeeper with a sense of eager anticipation. Typically, a freshly entered goalkeeper is highly alert, yet paradoxically, this is often the moment when goals are most readily scored. Thus, standing just outside the center circle, Mingyu received a back pass from Moreno. As both teams advanced into the opposing half, Mingyu, amidst the astonished gazes of onlookers, unleashed a spectacular long-range lob towards the England goal. Witnessing this, the Spanish attacking players halted in their tracks, directing their attention towards England's substitute goalkeeper, Johnstone. The England players, too, paused, their eyes fixed on their keeper. All attention converged on Johnstone, who sensed the collective gaze upon him, a surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins. He anticipated Mingyu's lob, and as the ball descended from its apex, he quickly assessed its trajectory, concluding that it lacked sufficient power and would likely land just outside the penalty area. Johnstone took a couple of steps forward, intending to catch the ball as it rebounded. He had already envisioned the actions he would take upon securing the ball, maintaining an impassive demeanor, cradling it in one hand, while gesturing for his teammates to advance. Surveying the field for opportunities. Should none present themselves, he would pass to the fullback, allowing for a gradual progression. He resolved to project an air of composure, ensuring he was not underestimated. Indeed, his assessment proved accurate. Mingyu's shot was indeed underpowered, crashing down on the penalty area line. Chapter 446, San's triumphant return. A faint smile crept across Johnstone's lips. Everything was under his control. After securing the ball, he intended to exhibit calm and poise, devoid of humor. Thus, he took yet another small step forward. However, this seemingly innocuous step felt akin to plunging into an abyss, as the force and height of the ball's rebound left him breathless. He leapt desperately, but only felt a fleeting breeze slip through his fingertips. In a moment of disbelief from the spectators, Johnstone turned to the goal just in time to see the ball rebound once more, striking the net with a resounding thud. The England players were left in stunned silence. What was happening? Why was there another blunder? What was he doing so far forward? Did he not know his own jumping abilities? Meanwhile, the Spanish players surged toward Mingyu, enveloping him in jubilation, tinged with humor. What had befallen the England team? Had they recruited a comedic actor as their goalkeeper? Surely, they were not here to defend, but rather to entertain. England's coach Southgate felt his heart racing. Were they all conspiring to mock him? One goalkeeper's blunder was bad enough, but now this? A hat trick of goalkeeping errors? Truly, they were remarkable. Spain's coach Enrique had returned to the sidelines, shielding his face with his hands, convulsing in disbelief. The England goalkeeper was certainly generous, recognizing the difficulty of his role and hastily presenting a grand gift, a hat trick of blunders. Johnstone knelt before the goal, his expression one of bewilderment. Who am I? Where am I? What has transpired? The deafening chorus of boos threatened to collapse the Rhine Energy Stadium. The England fans, eyes ablaze with fury, yearned to storm the pitch and exact revenge on Johnstone, and then turn their ire towards Henderson in the locker room. Unbeknownst to them, in the locker room, Henderson, having witnessed Johnstone's blunder on the wall-mounted television, bore a faint smile, relieved that no cameras were present to capture his reaction. As the game resumed, the England players were demoralized, their anger palpable. A series of 3 fouls prompted the referee to brandish a yellow card and 2 straight reds, finally restoring some semblance of calm to the England side. Watching his teammates voluntarily exit the field, Johnstone's complexion paled further. He realized that his international career was likely at an end. What was supposed to be a shining moment in his career had devolved into an abrupt conclusion. On the sidelines, Enrique vociferously complained to the 4th official about England's players' violent conduct. The referee, however, remained resolute. Any hint of excessive force from an England player resulted in an unyielding yellow card. This only exacerbated the players' frustrations. With Spain enjoying a numerical advantage, they tactically dominated the game. Through a series of fluid passes, they manipulated England's formation, rendering any attempt at fouling nearly impossible. They denied their opponents the opportunity to close in. Yet, inevitably, the ball had to be transmitted into the penalty area, leading to unavoidable physical confrontations. Mingyu executed a brilliant through ball, and Moreno, leveraging his body against Maguire, prepared to pivot. Unexpectedly, Maguire delivered a harsh kick to Moreno's supporting foot, causing him to cry out in pain and collapse to the ground, the ball rolling back into play. The referee, initially poised to blow his whistle, hesitated as a flash of red darted towards the ball, prompting him to refrain. The individual rushing towards the ball was none other than Mingyu, who unleashed a furious shot. Maguire, head down, was oblivious to Mingyu's strike. His focus was solely on hurling invective at Moreno for the foul he had committed. Just as he pondered why the referee had not intervened, had he narrowly escaped punishment? Maguire was suddenly enveloped in darkness. Instinctively lifting his head, he was confronted by a black and white projectile hurtling toward him. With no time to react, he felt as though a truck had collided with him. A warm flow trickling from his nose, his head buzzing, and his legs giving way beneath him. This spectacle sent shivers down the spines of the spectators and players alike. Mingyu's furious strike had directly struck Maguire's head. Surely he would survive? This thought flickered through many minds. The referee, momentarily stunned, gazed at the fallen Maguire. He should have halted the match to assess the situation. Yet, for reasons unknown, he refrained from blowing the whistle. Remarkably, after striking Maguire's face, the ball ricocheted fortuitously back to Mingyu. Mingyu lifted his right foot once more, executing a low, ground-hugging strike. The soccer ball skimmed the grass, hurtling swiftly towards the English team's penalty area. In the trajectory of the shot, Harry Maguire lay drowsily on the ground. Dazed by the impact, Maguire felt as if stars were swirling before his eyes, contemplating reaching out to grasp a few to sell for profit. However, a sudden, searing pain erupted in his chest, the immense force nearly suffocating him. The impact from Mingyu's strike caused Maguire to flip completely over, landing with his back facing Mingyu. The ball rebounded back. Its force diminished this time. Seizing the moment before the referee blew the whistle, Mingyu took 2 steps forward and unleashed another low shot, striking the ball fiercely against Maguire's back. The referee, seemingly unable to bear witness to this grim spectacle any longer, blew his whistle repeatedly, finally halting Mingyu, who stood there, still yearning to continue his assault. The entire audience, players, fans, and staff alike, regarded Mingyu with a mix of intrigue and regret. It was unclear whether he lamented not scoring a goal or regretted not incapacitating Maguire. Maguire lay on the ground, resembling a large shrimp, hunched over and coughing violently, as if he might expel his very lungs. Chapter 447, The Disintegrating English Team. At the Rhein-Energy Stadium, the spectators felt they had witnessed a brutal accident. Mingyu's 3 consecutive shots had been valiantly thwarted by Maguire. After halting the match, the referee rushed to the edge of the penalty area, signaling for the England team's medical staff to enter the field, as Maguire lay curled up like a shrimp on the ground. The team doctor and his assistant sprinted onto the pitch, fearing that if they delayed even a moment longer, Maguire might be beyond saving. Meanwhile, the English players surged towards Mingyu, intent on confronting him, but the Spanish players had already reached Mingyu first, resulting in yet another standoff. Moreno, nursing his ankle, looked bewilderedly at Maguire, who was now being lifted onto a stretcher. What had just transpired? Let me clarify. I attempted to control the ball, only to feel a sharp kick that was excruciating. While lying on the ground, I heard 3 resounding thuds. Then, Maguire was carried away on a stretcher. It seems I might have pieced together what happened. The Spanish team's medical staff hurried over to inquire about Moreno's ankle. Fortunately, Moreno, being experienced, assessed that the earlier kick was not severe. However, he promptly asked the doctor to recount the events that had just unfolded. The doctor, still shaken, recounted everything to Moreno. Upon hearing this, Moreno regarded Mingyu with newfound respect. Little did he expect that his captain would exact vengeance by cleverly utilizing the rules of the game to send the opponent off on a stretcher, and all within the bounds of fairness. Mingyu, with an air of nonchalance, explained that he was merely attempting to score, and the opponent had obstructed his shot with his body, never intending to harm anyone. This statement nearly prompted the referee to roll his eyes. Yet his position forbade such expressions, and he settled for a look of begrudging acceptance. Meanwhile, the English players seethed with indignation. They were seasoned players, well aware of the intricacies of the game. Did he truly think they could not discern his intentions? If he did not aim, could he consistently strike with such precision? Mingyu retorted, "Do you think I need to aim for a stationary target? Who do you think you are?" However, the rules of soccer do not classify kicking the ball towards an opponent as a foul unless one deliberately strikes an opponent during a dead ball situation. This recalls the infamous incident from the 2002 World Cup, where Rivaldo feigned injury after being struck by the ball, leading to a red card against a Turkish player. Mingyu's 3 shots were executed within the flow of the match, and the referee did not halt play, thus rendering the situation unproblematic. Maguire would have to endure the consequences silently. On the sidelines, England's coach Gareth Southgate was on the verge of losing his temper, unleashing a tirade towards the fourth official. The fourth official, suppressing laughter, urged Southgate to return to his position. "What is so amusing?" Southgate demanded. "I recalled some joyful news." The fourth official replied. "What joyful news?" Southgate inquired. "My wife just had a baby," came a response. "For heaven's sake, I'm reiterating that Mingyu's actions were akin to murder. Do you understand?" Southgate shouted. "Would you like me to hire a lawyer for you?" The fourth official quipped. "Is that what I meant? You should have a referee send that wretched executioner off the field. Did you hear me, you fool?" Southgate fumed. "Sir, someone will indeed be sent off." The fourth official promptly summoned the referee. The referee approached, and the fourth official reported Southgate's aggressive language. Without hesitation, the referee brandished a red card, signaling Southgate's dismissal. Southgate felt on the brink of explosion, but fortunately, his assistant coach pulled him away from the pitch, preventing a scene of a coach assaulting the referee from unfolding on the grand stage of the Euro Cup. The chorus of boos from England's fans served as a fitting tribute to the referee. The police finally took action, employing shields and batons to swiftly subdue a handful of unruly fans attempting to breach the stands, effectively deterring others from following suit. The match continued, but the English players had completely lost their competitive spirit. Even the thought of committing a foul seemed to have vanished. Mingyu had sent a clear message regarding the repercussions of malicious fouls. Even as Maguire was carried off on a stretcher, the referee did not forget, issuing a red card to honor the earlier foul committed against him. This is also the reason for Southgate's fury. His players were directly carted off on stretchers and shown red cards, yet the perpetrator, Mingyu, faced no repercussions whatsoever. Such tolerance is unbearable. In the 70th minute, Mingyu lifted his foot for a long-range shot from outside the penalty area, resulting in a facepalm moment for the English fans. Not only did no one rush to block the shot, but two defenders even attempted to evade it. Goalkeeper Johnstone watched as the middle of the goal was wide open. Mingyu steadied himself and struck the ball with the ease of a training session, sending a powerful shot towards the net. The ball soared through the air with hardly any spin, finding its way into the bottom corner of the goal. Johnstone stood there, only slightly swaying, as he watched the ball crash into the net. 5-1. Chapter 448. The twilight of the Danish fairy tale after the goal. Mingyu was substituted by coach Enrique. In this match, Mingyu scored 4 goals, becoming the first player in European Championship history to achieve 2 quadruples in a single tournament. Indeed, apart from Mingyu, no one else in the history of the European Championship has accomplished such a feat with these 4 goals. Mingyu drew tantalizingly close to Ronaldo's record of 17 goals in the European Championship. One can only imagine that Ronaldo harbors a deep resentment towards the English team now. After all, he expended every ounce of effort to score a single goal, while they simply allowed their adversaries to flourish. In the knockout stage, to witness such a dismal performance from the English team is truly disheartening. As the 90 minutes elapsed, the referee blew the final whistle. 7-1. After Mingyu's departure, the Spanish team did not relent against the English. Moreno and substitute Fatty each scored, solidifying their victory. The English team was marginally better than the Norwegian team, at least managing to net 1 goal. However, the manner of the match became the talk of the town. Once again, the position of goalkeeper for the English team was highlighted as a cautionary tale, while every other position brimmed with talent, showcasing legendary players. The goalkeeper's role seemed perpetually devoid of a true guardian capable of bearing the weight of the team. Yet this time, the English team's goalkeeper truly became the focal point of mockery. After Henderson's blunder, he once again presented a gift, handing the ball directly to Mingyu. Such a monumental error left Mingyu feeling somewhat guilty. To the despair of English fans, newly substituted goalkeeper Johnstone, due to his advanced positioning at the start of the second half, was caught off guard by a long-range lob from Mingyu. Had he merely taken a step back, he could have easily intercepted the shot. However, a single step can lead one to paradise or plunge them into hell. Ibrahimovic, am I heaven or hell? With the conclusion of this match, the semi-final matchups were officially set. On July 8th, Denmark faced Portugal. On July 9th, Belgium squared off against Spain. Would Denmark continue its fairy tale? Could Ronaldo carry Portugal forward once more? Would Belgium seize a championship to lend credibility to their second-place status in the world? Could Spain achieve its grand resurgence? In 4 days, all mysteries would be unveiled and the world would witness the ultimate confrontation in the finals. However, many within the English team condemned Mingyu, branding him a butcher and a murderer. Numerous English fans clamored for an apology, demanding he exit the Premier League. Mingyu quickly updated his Facebook and Weibo, writing only a single sentence: "Perhaps I should leave." This statement sent ripples through the football world, causing an uproar. Mingyu's phone was inundated with notifications. In response, the English Football Association hastily issued a vigorous statement, asserting that competitive sports must not shy away from bloodshed and sacrifice, and that Mingyu's actions fell well within the confines of the rules. Furthermore, it was noted that Mingyu was merely shooting, while Maguire valiantly attempted to block his 3 shots with his body. Though the outcome was tragic, it embodied the spirit of athleticism that deserves encouragement. If one were to witness Maguire, having sustained the first blow, collapsing with blurred vision, they might indeed question whether he was truly noble in his endeavor to block the ball. Manchester United's official website subsequently shared this statement, extending an olive branch to Mingyu. Teams like Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Juventus, and Bayern Munich also sent messages of support to him. Enrique, observing the innocent expression on Mingyu's face, could only chuckle helplessly, saying, "Josep has been trying to reach you, but since he couldn't get through, he called me instead." Taking Enrique's phone, Mingyu explained to a nearly furious Guardiola on the other end, "No, I just said that offhand. I have no intention of leaving Manchester City." With Mingyu's assurance, Guardiola, who was on holiday in Spain, finally felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He could not afford to lose his key player while taking a break. The chairman of Manchester City could not reach Mingyu, so he resorted to asking Guardiola for assistance. Guardiola also struggled to contact Mingyu, but fortunately, Enrique's phone was still available, leading to the call being made. Guardiola and Enrique, having played together in the Spanish national team, shared a close bond. Watching Mingyu hang up, Enrique remarked with a frown, "You should delete your message. It's causing chaos out there." Mingyu had not anticipated that his casual remark would be interpreted in such a manner. He deleted his previous statement and pondered for a moment before typing another. "I have no desire to leave Manchester City. I have not yet won enough championships, and I'm not content." Within a minute, this message once again became a global sensation. Many in the entertainment industry watched this unfold, their envy palpable as they lamented their own struggles to gain attention. "Look at him. A single line is all it takes for him to trend. Wong Fong, woof woof woof." UEFA was also taken aback. Who would have thought that at the height of the European Championship, when the world's focus should be on the semi-finals, Mingyu's offhand comment could nearly derail the tournament? 4 days later, the semi-finals of the European Championship arrived as expected. The eyes of football fans worldwide turned once again to Germany. On July 8th, at Berlin's Olympic Stadium, the match between Denmark and Portugal was set to commence at 2100 hours. Would the Danish fairy tale resonate across the European continent once more? Or could the aging Ronaldo lead his team back to the European Championship finals? Denmark had only once experienced a European Championship final, emerging victorious, while Portugal boasted 2 final appearances, the first being in 2004 when they hosted the tournament, ultimately losing to Greece, who were also making their inaugural final appearance. Greek mythology re-emerged on the European continent during that period. The second resurgence occurred during the 2016 UEFA European Championship, where Cristiano Ronaldo led the Portuguese team through a series of victories, ultimately triumphing over the host nation, France, with a score of 1-0 in the final to secure the first European Championship title in the team's history. However, Ronaldo felt a sense of regret, as he had to leave the field due to injury during the final, watching from the sidelines as his teammates claimed victory. Therefore, in what would be his last World Cup, he yearned to see it through to the end and secure the championship on his own terms. Yet before reaching the final, he had to first overcome Denmark. It is important to note that Denmark this year is arguably the strongest team in its history, and their momentum has reached a peak, defeating all challengers. Chapter 449, Resurgence on July 8th at the Berlin Olympic Stadium. The semi-final between Denmark and Portugal had entered the 90th minute of the second half, with the score still tied at 0-0. Both teams had executed their defensive strategies to perfection. Ronaldo had exerted himself to the utmost, yet the opposing goalkeeper seemed invincible, repeatedly denying Portugal's attempts to score. Kasper Schmeichel, a name that must be etched in the annals of world football. At 37, this was his final World Cup. His father, Peter Schmeichel, was the goalkeeper for the national team that created the Danish fairy tale and was a key figure in Manchester United's supremacy in the Premier League. In this match, young Schmeichel showcased his extraordinary talent, thwarting several threatening shots from Portugal, including a penalty taken by Ronaldo. As the game progressed into extra time, both teams fought valiantly until the final minute, yet the elusive goal remained absent. The cruel penalty shootout awaited. After 4 rounds, Ronaldo found himself at the penalty spot, facing the man who had previously saved his penalty. Schmeichel appeared relaxed, gesturing to his right, indicating to Ronaldo where he could shoot, claiming he would not attempt to save it. In a penalty shootout, the goalkeeper bears the least pressure. Failing to save a penalty is commonplace, but succeeding elevates one to the status of a deity. Regardless, the pressure on each penalty taker is immense. Historically, many superstars have faltered during penalty shootouts in World Cups. The most poignant example remains Roberto Baggio's heartbreaking miss, watching as Brazil claimed the championship at the Rose Bowl. 30 years later, Ronaldo stood on the semi-final stage, confronting the legacy of 2 generations of goalkeepers in young Schmeichel, his expression turning stern. The referee's whistle pierced the air, and Ronaldo exhaled deeply, commencing his run-up. After 3 strides, he launched a powerful shot. Although Schmeichel maintained his composure, his eyes never left Ronaldo, scrutinizing his every movement, breath, and facial muscle. At the moment Ronaldo's right foot connected with the ball, Schmeichel sprang into action like a cheetah chasing prey. A gasp echoed throughout the stadium, as Schmeichel accurately predicted the direction of Ronaldo's penalty. With a swift motion, he parried Ronaldo's shot, sending it out of bounds. Pain etched across Ronaldo's face. He placed his hands on his hips and gazed skyward, realizing that his illustrious career might culminate in disappointment. After Schmeichel's heroic save, he exuberantly waved his arms, as if victory were already within their grasp. However, they still needed to convert the final penalty to advance to the European Championship final. Portugal's primary goalkeeper, the veteran Rui Patricio, aged 36, also faced what might be his last World Cup. As they brushed past each other, he quietly assured Ronaldo, "I will do my best." Ronaldo offered a bittersweet smile, patting his shoulder without uttering a word. Patricio took his position in goal. Watching as Denmark's final penalty taker approached from midfield, Delaney, who plays for Dortmund. All the pressure now rested upon his shoulders. Yet, Delaney displayed an unusual calmness, instilling a sense of reassurance in those who observed him. He placed the ball carefully on the penalty spot and stepped back, avoiding any eye contact with Patricio. The Portuguese goalkeeper began to leap side to side on the goal line, attempting to disrupt Delaney's focus. Upon the referee's whistle, Delaney glanced up at Patricio, startled to see him positioned not centrally, but slightly to the left, creating a sizable gap on the right side. If he aimed there, even Patricio would struggle to react in time. However, could this be a trap? Initially confident, Delaney found his resolve wavering under Patricio's subtle maneuvering. As Patricio shifted to regain his position, Delaney's certainty began to falter. Which side should he choose? With a brief run-up and no time to deliberate, he found himself in front of the ball. In a moment of haste, Delaney's shot was easily thwarted by Patricio's side dive, leaving him pale and covering his face in despair, while Patricio erupted in jubilant celebration. He had rescued the Portuguese team from the brink of defeat. Now, the fate of the match hinged on a single kick. Ronaldo, from midfield, could not contain his tears of joy. Patricio had not only saved the team, but also redeemed himself. Schmeichel stood once more at the goal line, his previous nonchalance replaced with serious determination. Portugal's 6th penalty taker was Cancelo, a vital player from Manchester City, adept at both fullback and winger positions. He approached the spot casually, placing the ball down and stepping back, awaiting the referee's signal. With the whistle blown, Cancelo charged forward, unleashing a powerful shot. Although Schmeichel guessed the right direction, the sheer force of the kick sent the ball directly into the net. Schmeichel struck the ground in frustration. Cancelo, triumphant, raised his fist in victory, completing his task. The Portuguese side erupted in jubilant celebration, while the atmosphere grew tense for Denmark. Their 6th penalty taker was Christensen, a defender for Chelsea. Patricio, employing the same tactics, performed various eccentric movements on the goal line to distract Christensen's focus. Christensen did not glance at him at all. Instead, he remained fixated on the football at the penalty spot. With a sharp whistle from the referee, Christensen commenced his run-up, yet he still failed to regard Patricio's position. With a resounding thud, Christensen struck the ball fiercely with the outside of his foot. The football soared towards the upper right corner of the goal. In chapter 450, Born to be a King, at the moment Christensen took a shot, he finally lifted his gaze towards the goalkeeper. A smile crept upon his lips as he noticed Patricio diving in the opposite direction. However, the smile on Christensen's face quickly froze in shock. He could hardly believe his eyes as the ball, unimpeded by any defenders, struck the junction of the goalpost and crossbar with a powerful impact, rebounding back into play. Christensen buried his face in his hands and collapsed onto the ground. He had indeed deceived the goalkeeper, but in his pursuit of precision, he had unwittingly struck the post. In that instant, the entire stadium erupted. The Danish players all stared helplessly skyward. The Danish fairy tale would ultimately remain unwritten. Meanwhile, on the Portuguese side, Ronaldo led all the players and staff, rushing towards Patricio. Although the final penalty was missed by their opponents, it was Patricio's earlier saves that proved crucial for Portugal's resurrection. One step towards heaven, another towards hell. Prior to the last penalty, the Danish team was already preparing to celebrate their return to the European Championship final. Yet, just a minute later, they had to leave in sorrow. This is the allure of football. Until the final whistle, no one can predict the outcome of the match. With reddened eyes, Ronaldo gathered all the players in front of the stands, paying homage to the distant fans. Without their support, Portugal might not have made it this far. Thus, the first team to reach the final of this European Championship was determined. It was Portugal. Tomorrow, another team would be revealed to join them in the final. Would it be the former world number one, Belgium, or the current world number one, Spain? The attention of the entire world was focused here, eagerly awaiting the commencement of this match. On July 9th, at the Red Bull Arena in Leipzig, home to the Bundesliga's rising star, RB Leipzig, the second finalist of this European Championship would be decided. The Spanish team, undeniably formidable, had scored 28 goals in 5 matches, leading all teams in this regard. Their superstar midfielder, Mingyu, had netted 14 goals, accounting for half of the team's total, showcasing his immense attacking prowess and significance to the squad. In contrast, Belgium had scored 11 goals in 5 matches, with Lukaku being their top scorer, albeit with only 4 goals. The attacking capabilities of both teams appear to be on different levels. However, both teams are currently ranked as the top 2 in the world, rendering any scoreline possible. The eyes of football fans worldwide were fixed on this venue, awaiting the match to begin. De Bruyne, now adorned with the captain's armband for the Belgian national team, cast a sidelong glance at the young man beside him, eliciting both envy and admiration. Following Mingyu's arrival, De Bruyne had departed from Manchester City to join the formidable Real Madrid, hoping to prove himself there. However, he had not anticipated that this would mark the beginning of his nightmares, as he faced Mingyu's Manchester City in the UEFA Champions League final for 2 consecutive years. In the first year, the Real Madrid team, featuring Haaland and De Bruyne, was vanquished by Mingyu. De Bruyne missed his opportunity to showcase his talents. The following year, with Mbappe joining Real Madrid alongside Bale, they formed a terrifying quartet. The two teams once again clashed in the Champions League final. Confidently, De Bruyne believed he could finally prove himself, only for Mingyu to reaffirm his dominance. From that moment, a significant psychological shadow loomed over De Bruyne regarding Mingyu. With Haaland, Mbappe, Bale, and himself, it could be said that they formed the most formidable and luxurious attacking combination on the planet, with top-tier age, strength, and form. Yet they could not triumph over Mingyu. This time, on the European Championship stage, Belgium had triumphed through various challenges. Standing at the gates of their second final in history, facing Spain, the team most favored to win this tournament. Despite Belgium's consistent ranking as world number 1 in recent years, their performances in major tournaments had lacked conviction. With only a third-place finish in the 2018 World Cup to their name, with a host of stars excelling in Europe's top leagues, they had dominated international matches. Yet they consistently faltered in the latter stages of prestigious tournaments, a point of contention for the Belgian team. De Bruyne clenched his fists tightly. Today's match was his best opportunity to prove himself. The lineup Belgium fielded today clearly indicated coach Martinez's intention to confront the challenge head-on, employing a 3-4-3 formation. Goalkeeper Courtois, with 3 defenders, Vertonghen, Vermaelen, and Meunier. Midfielders Tielemans, Witsel, Prate, and De Bruyne, and forwards Lukaku, Carrasco, and Mertens. This lineup represented Belgium's strongest combination, balanced in both attack and defense. As the players took to the field, the referee's whistle marked the commencement of this highly anticipated match. Congratulations to the host for signing in at the Red Bull Arena, acquiring the talent of Belgian legend Enzo Schiffo, born to be a king. Had Enzo Schiffo not been born, Belgian football might have languished in darkness throughout the 20th century. Enzo Schiffo possessed the ability to catalyze a transformative change within the team single-handedly. Born to be a king, as long as the host stands on the pitch, the team's morale will not fall below 60, with each goal scored increasing morale by 5. Additionally, there's a certain pressure exerted on the Belgian team. Mingyu could not help but reveal a peculiar smile. Enzo Schiffo, the greatest star in Belgian history, would likely never have expected that acquiring his talent would impose a certain pressure on the Belgian team. Spain initiated the kickoff. As the football arrived at Mingyu's feet, Lukaku, rushing in to intercept, suddenly felt his heart race and found himself momentarily hesitating upon seeing Mingyu. Mingyu deftly maneuvered, evading Lukaku and easily passing the ball. Watching Mingyu's retreating figure, Lukaku's expression turned peculiar. Why did he feel an inexplicable sense of trepidation towards him? Chapter 451. The cunning leader during several assaults. Mingyu could distinctly perceive the remarkable utility of this born leader. This innate talent was nothing short of a calamity for the Belgian team. They were already struggling to contain Mingyu, and with this newfound ability, he felt as if he were traversing an unguarded realm. In the 7th minute, Mingyu effortlessly evaded the advancing center back at the edge of the penalty area and unleashed a powerful shot aimed at the bottom right corner of the goal. Fortunately, goalkeeper Courtois reacted swiftly, lowering his center of gravity just in time to deflect the ball out of play with his fingertips. Due to the distance between them, Courtois was oblivious to the palpable pressure emanating from Mingyu. He was infuriated with his defense, as this marked the 3rd time Mingyu had shot unchallenged since the match commenced. Thankfully, Courtois was in good form, maintaining the score at 0-0. On the sidelines, Belgian coach Martinez wore a grave expression. Their defense appeared utterly ineffective against Mingyu. What could be the cause of this? While an individual player performing poorly might be understandable, it was quite alarming to witness an entire team faltering. Mingyu, too, felt a tinge of regret. Courtois seemed to be channeling a divine guardian spirit today. At 32 years old, Courtois was in the prime of his career, having faced Mingyu numerous times and thus possessing a profound understanding of his capabilities. However, unexpectedly, it was the Belgian team that scored first. Courtois initiated a goal kick to a defender, and the Belgian offense gradually advanced from the backline. The Spanish team, wary of their formidable opponents, refrained from hasty challenges. The robust Lukaku had positioned himself at the forefront of the penalty area, using his physique to outmaneuver center-back Eric Garcia. In comparison to Lukaku, Garcia appeared almost childlike, with height and weight disparities that were stark. Under the weight of Lukaku's physicality, Garcia's expression contorted in discomfort. De Bruyne seized the moment, delivering a precise through ball. Lukaku turned, and Garcia collapsed as if struck by a vehicle. Unfazed, Lukaku took a stride into the penalty area and unleashed a fierce shot, breaching the Spanish defense. This marked the first time Spain had conceded a goal in this European Championship. After scoring, Lukaku was exhilarated, rushing toward the net to strike the rebounding ball back into the goal. He then spread his arms wide, sprinting towards the sidelines to celebrate fervently. Lukaku harbored some resentment towards Mingyu, stemming from his previous encounter with Manchester City, where he had chosen not to play for Chelsea due to the racial discrimination from their fans, nearly facing a career-threatening ban. Thus, not only did he harbor animosity towards Chelsea supporters, but also towards Manchester City. Scoring in front of Mingyu felt like an outlet for his frustrations. Mingyu felt a flicker of anger at Lukaku's audacity. Summoning goalkeeper Simon, he urged him to throw the ball over quickly. Initially glum, Simon's mood lifted upon hearing Mingyu's voice. The captain was irked. They had better not dawdle. As the Belgian players returned to their half, they were taken aback to find Mingyu standing in the center circle, a departure from his usual position outside it, signaling his intent to attack. The nearby Belgian players were struck by the overwhelming presence of Mingyu's talent, filling them with trepidation. Even Lukaku sensed a chill. The referee's whistle pierced the air, and Moreno passed the ball to Mingyu. With a surge of energy, he dashed forward, unleashing his warrior spirit. In an instant, Mingyu's speed surpassed 100, breaking through limitations like a bolt of lightning into the Belgian half. With speed and an aura of intimidation, the Belgian defense crumbled before him, akin to paper. After bypassing 5 defenders, Mingyu entered the penalty area, opting not to shoot directly. If Courtois is in such fine form, I shall simply elude him and score into an empty net. With a signature pendulum dribble, even Courtois, despite his exceptional state, could only choose a direction to dive. Watching helplessly as Mingyu elegantly maneuvered past him. The score was now 1-1. Barely a minute after Belgium's jubilation, Mingyu executed an undeniable solo effort to equalize the match. The morale of the Belgian team visibly plummeted. How could they combat such a player? Those whom Mingyu had outmaneuvered were left with an odd sensation, questioning why they had felt fear moments ago. Once outside the reach of Mingyu's talent, the earlier dread dissipated. Yet, at that moment, it felt as though Mingyu was not merely a player but a revered predecessor, and in their admiration, they hesitated to challenge him, allowing him to glide through unopposed. After scoring, Mingyu did not celebrate with the fervor displayed by Lukaku. Instead, he calmly retrieved the ball and jogged back to his half. Observing Mingyu's composed demeanor, the Belgian players were gripped by a chill. Was he intent on annihilation? Had they offended this formidable adversary? Was it a misinterpretation of his expression during their pre-match handshake? Did the angle of their smiles provoke his ire? Only Lukaku understood that Mingyu's actions were a retaliation for his earlier boastful celebration. Lukaku's facial muscles twitched slightly. Indeed, he was the epitome of a vengeful spirit. After the restart, Lukaku aimed to replicate his earlier success, but as he crossed the halfway line, he sensed Mingyu had stealthily shadowed him. When attempting to receive the ball with his back turned, he felt immense pressure from Mingyu behind him, the sensation of being unable to budge his opponent. De Bruyne, possessing the ball in the center, sought to find an opening to pass to Lukaku, only to be astounded to see Lukaku engaged in a physical contest with Mingyu from a distance of 40 meters. The crowd gasped in awe as visually, Lukaku appeared significantly larger than Mingyu, suggesting an imbalance in weight classes akin to heavyweight versus lightweight in boxing. Yet, astonishingly, neither could gain the upper hand. Chapter 452. Defense to contain Lukaku. Offense to secure victory. Typically, referees would halt play during such physical contests to prevent conflict, but this time, even the referee was eager to witness the outcome of this duel. Thus, the most humorous scene of this European Championship unfolded. The other players from both teams continued to engage in the match with unwavering focus. The football was passed back and forth between the two, yet neither made an attempt to intercept. Instead, they were wholly intent on overpowering their opponent. The Spanish team, despite the absence of Mingyu, suffered no detriment in defense. Conversely, the Belgian team, missing Lukaku, found their offensive prowess significantly diminished. Indeed, they had lost a vital asset. Following a few tentative attempts, Belgium ultimately relinquished possession. Upon regaining the ball, Mingyu executed a swift half-turn, leaving Lukaku momentarily off balance, and surged forward with accelerated momentum. Before Lukaku could even contemplate celebrating his triumph, he witnessed Mingyu receiving a pass at the center circle, taking large strides towards his opponent's half. This time, the defensive players he needed to overcome were fewer, as the previous Belgian offensive had pushed too many players forward, leaving their defense alarmingly weak. However, Mingyu, having expended considerable energy in his tussle with Lukaku, felt his legs beginning to weaken. Glancing towards the flanks, he delivered a perfectly timed through ball to the advancing Pedri. Initially, Pedri braced himself for yet another instance of being the decoy, but for the sake of victory, he was prepared to endure. To his astonishment, the ball indeed reached him. With little time to revel in his surprise, he composed himself and quickly made his run. Upon receiving the ball, he instinctively began to cut inside. Noticing that Mingyu had no intention of joining the attack, thus realizing he would have to go it alone. It was not merely Pedri who was taken aback by Mingyu's pass. The Belgian players were equally surprised. Mingyu's aggressive desire to attack had been so pronounced that he had resolved most situations single-handedly. It was unexpected for him to pass at such a critical juncture. Pedri's rapid advance caught Belgium off guard, and, as he cut inside, their defenders struggled to keep pace. With a deft left-footed strike, he unleashed a curving banana shot that sailed past Courtois' outstretched hand. kissing the post before nestling into the net. The score was now 2-1. And in less than 5 minutes, Belgium transitioned from the ecstasy of scoring to the bewilderment of an equalizer and then to the panic of trailing. Belgian coach Martinez looked on helplessly at the unfolding situation. Mingyu's prowess had surpassed his expectations. Even during encounters with peak performers like Messi and Ronaldo, Belgium had never felt such pressure. It seemed that every time Mingyu acquired the ball, Belgium was on the verge of conceding. As play resumed, Belgium found itself ensnared in offensive frustration once more. Lukaku was tightly marked by Mingyu, who proved to be an unusually tenacious opponent. Throughout his career, Lukaku had faced adversaries he could easily dominate, and even those who matched him in strength often fell prey to his skill. Yet, facing Mingyu, he confronted a rival who could not only match him, but also surpass him in various aspects. Without Lukaku, Belgium's offense became disoriented. Spain's defense was world-class, rendering simple breakthroughs impossible unless one relied on Lukaku's brute force. However, even Lukaku was now up against a formidable competitor. In the 20th minute, he retreated to request the ball within a 40-meter radius, seeking to directly bypass Mingyu. Yet, to Mingyu, Lukaku's movements appeared somewhat cumbersome, making it easy for him to position himself strategically, resulting in Lukaku's failure to retain possession. Lukaku stumbled, realizing Mingyu had seized the ball. A surge of frustration welled within him, yet he had no intention of retaliating. Instead, he took off in pursuit. However, Mingyu's speed had already escalated, and Lukaku despaired as he found himself unable to match his rival's pace, even in a futile chase. Mingyu's interception occurred at the sidelines, where he advanced with the ball. Ahead of him stood Belgian player Tielemans, blocking his path. In a flash, Mingyu pushed the ball forward while veering out of bounds, tracing an arc as Tielemans rushed to confront him, attempting to use his body to impede Mingyu's momentum. Yet, he was powerless to halt Mingyu's advance. Although Mingyu covered a greater distance, he reached the ball first, executing a skill reminiscent of Welsh player Bale. However, Mingyu's maneuver was even more visually striking, given that Lukaku was hot on his heels. It was somewhat understandable for Tielemans to lag behind, but Lukaku, a player known for his speed and explosiveness, was left in Mingyu's wake, illustrating the latter's extraordinary pace. As this assault unfolded near the substitute bench, Mingyu nearly collided with Belgian coach Martinez, who felt as though a speeding car was barreling towards him, a harrowing sensation of impending doom, with no escape in sight, causing his muscles to tense. Fortunately, Mingyu's balance held firm, preventing Tielemans from knocking him off course. After Mingyu sped past, Martinez remained visibly shaken, contemplating the potential consequences had he been struck. Yet, when he lifted his gaze to the pitch, he helplessly witnessed Mingyu enter the penalty area and deliver a low shot that slipped through Courtois' legs and into the net. The once miraculous goalkeeper was no longer a match for Mingyu's prowess. The scoreboard now read 3-1, and within 20 minutes, Spain had established a commanding lead over Belgium. What many had anticipated as a clash of titans had devolved into a one-sided affair. The Belgian players found themselves in a state of confusion. Despite having held the top global ranking for years, Spain had only recently surpassed them following the World Cup. Yet, Belgium had not secured a single championship in any major tournament during this span. They had not even reached the finals of a world event, earning them the moniker of kings of friendly matches. Although their matches were indeed official international contests, their performances in major tournaments belied their lofty ranking. The Belgian players were determined to shed the label of a pseudo-strong team that had long been affixed to them. However, when they confidently arrived at the semifinals of the European Championship, they faced the Spanish team led by Mingyu. Within just 20 minutes, they conceded 3 goals, shattering their confidence in an instant. Did this mean we were truly nothing more than a false powerhouse? Many Belgian players found themselves grappling with this unsettling question. De Bruyne, who regarded Mingyu as his lifelong rival, fell silent once again. Though he had performed admirably, he was helpless as Lukaku became ensnared in a struggle against Mingyu, disrupting their attacking strategy. In moments of offense, they failed to breach the opponent's defenses when it came to defense. Facing Mingyu led to a feeling of reverence that left him feeling ashamed. What kind of absurd sentiment was this? Who would admire him? He was my arch-nemesis, my opponent, the person I despised the most. Why would I ever wish to revere him? Yet, each time he faced Mingyu, De Bruyne could not shake the feeling of his formidable, invincible aura. Furthermore, he had come to deeply sense Mingyu's strength, which surpassed his own by a significant margin. As he watched his team's defense crumble before Mingyu, the pride he had harbored for so long began to falter. With the club's consecutive Champions League defeats and the national team on the verge of being overwhelmed, how could he possibly overcome this adversary? After the next kickoff, the morale of the Belgian team was visibly diminished. However, their coach acted decisively. Upon witnessing this decline, he commanded the team to retreat entirely, ensuring they would not concede any further goals in the first half. He intended to re-evaluate their tactics during halftime, feeling that there had been significant issues with their strategy thus far. Nevertheless, the premise for a counterattack in the second half was that they could not concede again. Trailing by 2 goals was still manageable. Indeed, once the Belgian team retreated, Spain's offensive efforts became increasingly challenging. After all, they were professional players, capable of adjusting their mindsets. After a series of successful defensive plays, the morale of the Belgian team gradually began to recover. In the semi-finals of the European Championship, no one would genuinely choose to surrender. A step forward would lead to the finals. And the last time Belgium reached the European Championship final was a journey back to the last century. In the 1980 Italy European Championship, it was the first expansion of the tournament, doubling the number of participating teams to 8. However, the format was quite unique. The 8 teams were divided into 2 groups, with the winners of each group advancing directly to the final. Belgium unexpectedly made it to the final, facing the formidable West Germany, who ultimately secured victory with a last-minute goal. This runner-up finish remains Belgium's best performance in a major international tournament, while their highest achievement in the World Cup was a third-place finish in 2018. Even De Bruyne continuously retreated into his own penalty area, repeatedly withstanding pressure to thwart Spain's attacks. As time passed, Mingyu sensed that the oppressive aura of his innate kingly skills was gradually diminishing. This was only natural, as every situation comes with an adjustment period. After facing Mingyu multiple times, the Belgian players became bolder in their defensive efforts, which slightly impeded Mingyu's attacks. Yet, for someone as formidable as Mingyu, such resistance only fueled his competitive spirit. The previous lackadaisical defense had left him feeling somewhat uninspired. In the 40th minute, at approximately 35 meters from the penalty area, De Bruyne and Lukaku positioned themselves on either side, effectively cornering Mingyu. With his feet dancing like a butterfly, the ball seemed to possess a soul, perfectly controlled beneath Mingyu's grace. De Bruyne and Lukaku hesitated to make a rash move, opting instead to hold their positions and await the right moment to intercept. Suddenly, Mingyu made a slight misstep, pushing the ball a bit too far ahead, as if it had slipped from his grasp. Noticing this, Lukaku surged forward, eager to seize the opportunity to reclaim possession. De Bruyne's expression shifted, and he shouted a warning. "Be careful." However, before the words left his mouth, Mingyu deftly pressed his right foot against the ball, skillfully pulling it back and then nudging it with his instep, sending it artfully through the gap between Lukaku's legs. Mingyu swiftly maneuvered past Lukaku, who attempted to turn and pursue but lost his footing, only to be rudely knocked down by Mingyu's shoulder. To add insult to injury, the fallen Lukaku inadvertently blocked De Bruyne, who sought to provide support. By the time De Bruyne leaped over Lukaku's body, Mingyu had already advanced 2 or 3 meters with the ball. Consequently, the center of the Belgian defense lay wide open. Mingyu took 2 steps forward and unleashed a stunning strike from approximately 30 meters out. With all his might, he propelled the ball into the air, his body momentarily leaving the ground. As he descended, he stumbled slightly, yet his gaze remained fixed on the soccer ball, soaring toward the goal. In midair, the ball resembled a shooting star, spinning almost imperceptibly as it hurtled toward the upper left corner of the net. Goalkeeper Courtois, taken aback, had not anticipated Mingyu's immediate strike from such a position. Thus, as he reacted to the incoming ball, he found himself flustered and scrambling to position himself accordingly. He pushed off the ground with both feet, striving to extend his body. But by the time his hands reached the trajectory of the ball, it had already crashed into the net. Chapter 454, equaling the all-time European Championship goal record. 4-1. Mingyu completed yet another hat trick, and this goal brought him level with Portuguese star Ronaldo in total European Championship goals, both tallying 17. Ronaldo achieved this feat over 6 tournaments, while Mingyu accomplished it in merely 6 matches, nearly securing an average of a hat-trick per game. Yet for Lee Mingyu, the match was far from over. Perhaps, by the time he faced Ronaldo next, he would have surpassed his total goal count. Since the last World Cup, Lee Mingyu had netted 16 goals in 7 matches, equaling the total World Cup goals of German legend Miroslav Klose. This achievement had already left many in awe of Lee Mingyu's prowess. However, today, through his goals, Lee Mingyu conveyed to all that only by surpassing oneself can one truly be deemed a king. It is well known that the intensity of a European Championship surpasses that of the World Cup. After all, the 24 teams that participate in the European Championship could easily fill at least 20 slots in a World Cup format. In the face of such formidable opponents, the fact that Lee Mingyu could still display such dominance speaks volumes about the extraordinary growth he has undergone in just 2 years. Suddenly, the stadium erupted in cheers. A commonly referenced abbreviation, which stands for the greatest player in history, represents the highest accolade a player can receive. Although Lee Mingyu is merely 23 years of age, in certain nations, athletes of this age are still under the protective embrace of a regulation known as the 23 rule. Yet at this tender age, Lee Mingyu has emerged as a formidable contender for the title of the greatest player in history. While his accolades in global tournaments may not rival those of Pelé, his individual prowess and offensive efficiency have eclipsed that of any player in history. Provided that Lee Mingyu's professional career continues without significant injuries by the time he reaches 30, there shall be no doubt regarding his historical standing. The first half of the match concluded swiftly, with the score remaining at 4-1. Although the fans continuously urged for another goal, Lee Mingyu remained composed, acutely aware that all eyes from the Belgian team were fixated upon him. Tinged with a hint of desperation, he must not be allowed to surpass them in this game. Otherwise, the Belgian team would be forever marked with disgrace. The players from Belgium had abandoned hopes of equalizing the score and were singularly focused on preventing Lee Mingyu from scoring. As the second half commenced, Lee Mingyu found himself ensnared within a formidable defensive blockade. Yet he astutely began to drift towards the flanks, allowing his teammates to orchestrate the play. Soon, the Belgian team, overwhelmed by their lack of personnel, began to falter under the relentless pressure from the Spanish side. In the 60th minute, Ferran Torres successfully broke through on the wing and delivered a cross to the center. Lee Mingyu sought to make a run, but was closely shadowed by 2 defenders, hindering his acceleration. Nonetheless, Moreno's shot found the back of Courtois' net once more. Observing Moreno's ecstatic celebration, Lee Mingyu could only shrug in resignation. The Belgian team had succumbed to madness. Their thoughts were no longer on scoring, but solely on thwarting Lee Mingyu's attempts. Reluctantly, in the 65th minute, Lee Mingyu was substituted by Enrique. With the match effectively secured, Enrique, wary of Lee Mingyu being ruthlessly taken down by opponents, hastily removed him to ensure he could rest and prepare for the upcoming European Championship final in 4 days. Upon returning to the bench, Lee Mingyu expressed his anger towards his teammates about the opponent's unscrupulous tactics, lamenting how they resorted to such disgraceful methods to thwart his pursuit of the European Championship goal record. After his departure from the field, the Belgian players exhaled a sigh of relief, their tension dissipating entirely. The score of 5-1 extinguished any desire to mount a comeback. Spain, undeterred, continued to press on, and in the 80th minute, Ferran Torres netted another goal, sealing the match at 6-1, thereby eliminating Belgium from the European Championship final. On July 13th, at 2100 hours, the final match of the European Championship was set to take place at Munich's Allianz Arena. The opposing teams were none other than Portugal and Spain, rivals from the same group. Once more, a fierce confrontation awaited, and the question lingered: whose prowess would prevail? Fans eagerly anticipated whether Ronaldo would maintain his status as the all-time top scorer of the European Championship, or if Lee Mingyu would surpass him in front of Ronaldo. In pre-match interviews, Ronaldo maintained a calm demeanor, acknowledging Lee Mingyu's remarkable talent and insatiable desire to score, despite his midfield position yielding more goals than that of some forwards. While Ronaldo had netted 17 goals over 6 European championships, rendering him proud of his legacy, he felt dwarfed by Lee Mingyu's burgeoning prowess. However, he noted that Lee Mingyu's success was not solely due to talent. His relentless dedication was also evident. Each summer, while many players indulged in leisure, Lee Mingyu trained diligently. Talent alone is not formidable. What is truly daunting is when a gifted individual works harder than you. Everything Lee Mingyu has achieved is a testament to his tireless efforts, and thus, Ronaldo felt no envy. He believed Mingyu deserved every accolade. Yet in the impending final, Ronaldo vowed not to relent easily. This match would mark his final appearance for the national team, and he desired a rightful championship to conclude his illustrious international career. "Prepare yourself, Mingyu. We shall meet in the final," Ronaldo declared, his words imbued with resolve. Mingyu's response was succinct. "I hold great respect for Ronaldo. He is a predecessor. However, his era has passed. This is our time. We have already triumphed over them in the group stages, which grants us immense psychological advantage. No team has managed to apply pressure on us thus far. The European Championship title is all but secured. I will break your record for total goals in the European Championship during the final, and I shall do so swiftly. See you in the match." On July 13th, at the Allianz Arena in Munich, the eyes of the world converged upon this venue. Leaders and luminaries from across Europe filled the stands, including King Felipe VI of Spain, seated alongside the president of Portugal, de Sousa. Their light-hearted banter suggested that they were unfazed by the impending European Championship final. In the players' tunnel, Mingyu and Ronaldo engaged in amiable conversation, seemingly oblivious to the tension expressed in their interviews. "Lee, I never anticipated meeting you again in the final. I shan't hold back this time," Ronaldo stated with seriousness. Mingyu rolled his eyes playfully, retorting as if he went easy on me in the first match. Their teammates exchanged amused glances, witnessing the playful banter. Many players from both teams were well acquainted, hailing from either Spanish or English clubs, and had faced each other in their first match of the European Championship, which ended with a score of 6-3 in favor of Spain. While they had emerged victorious, Portugal was not without its strengths. As the final approached, the outcome remained uncertain. Anything could unfold in such a decisive match. Amidst the thunderous applause, the players took to the field. Ronaldo carefully placed his right foot on the pitch first, a ritual he had maintained since the beginning of his career. As if seeking divine protection, Mingyu, undeterred by such superstition, felt secure under the system's protection, confident in his capabilities. As both teams settled into their respective halves, the roars from the stands crescendoed, eagerly awaiting the sound of the whistle. With the commencement of the 17th European Championship final, the atmosphere erupted in deafening cheers. Congratulations to the host for checking in at the Allianz Arena in Munich, earning the legendary skill of Portugal's Ronaldo, the powerful elevator shot. Mingyu's eyes brightened as he recalled the remarkable free-kick prowess of Ronaldo. While many players can execute a simple elevator ball, even Mingyu himself is no exception. He felt less confident about the powerful ones like Ronaldo's. Acquiring the technique of Ronaldo's vigorous elevator kick felt like he had finally addressed the last gap in his free kick skill set. Spain initiated the match, with the starting striker Moreno passing the ball to Mingyu, positioned outside the center circle. The first attack was entrusted to their core player. Portugal opened with an aggressive high press, aiming to stifle Spain's offense. However, the Spanish players were well-versed in dealing with such pressure. Mingyu darted around the field, delivering precise passes to each teammate, thwarting the Portuguese players at every turn. For nearly 3 minutes, the fans were dazzled by the intricate ball movement. Mingyu danced through the crowd like a butterfly, with the football seemingly magnetized to his feet. Even when faced with 2 or 3 Portuguese players attempting to mark him, Mingyu's rhythm remained unbroken. After 5 minutes, the Portuguese players finally abandoned their high press under Coach Santos' orders, retreating to their half. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause, celebrating the players' relentless spirit. In major finals, it is common for players to exhibit caution, fearing any misstep, rendering the game dull for spectators. Yet, the European Championship final between Spain and Portugal began with fierce intensity. Both teams showed no signs of retreat, battling fiercely for 5 minutes. With Portugal's aggression met by Spain's beautiful counterplay, Mingyu felt a sense of relief as the Portuguese players fell back, although he appeared composed. One errant pass could have presented Portugal with a golden opportunity. Fortunately, his teammates held their ground, avoiding any mistakes. With Mingyu on the pitch, the Spanish players felt a sense of assurance. With Portugal's retreat, Spain seized the opportunity, and Mingyu confidently carried the ball across the halfway line. After several probing attempts, he sought to distribute the ball to the flanks, but the Portuguese defense was impressively tenacious that day. Ferran Torres and Pedri continuously advanced with the ball, but could not find a suitable opening. Time flew by, and the fast-paced exchanges led to the 20-minute mark arriving swiftly. In the 22nd minute of the first half, after enduring relentless pressure, the Portuguese defense finally displayed a crack. Mingyu delivered a precise through ball, slicing through 3 defenders on the flank and reaching the central area. Moreno, using his body to shield the ball, made a decisive move towards the Portuguese penalty area. Just then, Diaz tugged at Moreno, bringing him down. The referee's whistle pierced the air, causing a collective gasp from the crowd, as Moreno had fallen within the penalty area. Diaz protested to the referee, insisting the foul occurred outside the box. The referee, not immediately ruling a penalty or free kick, sought assistance from the video assistant referee. After reviewing the footage, the final decision was made. Diaz's foul was deemed to have occurred just outside the box, resulting in a direct free kick awarded 1 meter from the penalty line. Diaz, feeling fortunate, received a yellow card for preventing a likely scoring opportunity. Mingyu stood calmly with the ball. To his surprise, Portugal formed a 5-man wall, tightly blocking the right side of the goal. Ronaldo, among the wall, cast a troubled glance at Mingyu, not due to past shadows, but because of Mingyu's stance. The crowd gradually erupted in excitement. Mingyu stood before the ball with his feet apart, akin to a compass, arms relaxed at his sides, eyes firmly fixed on the goal. This preparation mirrored Ronaldo's technique perfectly. Ronaldo's feelings were conflicted. The world knew of Mingyu's penchant for emulating other stars, but none had ever faced the unique experience of being directly imitated. Previously, Mingyu had honored retired players, but now, with Ronaldo right in front of him, the homage felt somewhat strained. Was this a provocation? Spectators recalled Mingyu's pre-match banter, where he claimed Ronaldo's era had passed. It seemed Mingyu intended to toll the bell for Ronaldo in his own way. Unbeknownst to Mingyu, he simply wanted to utilize his newfound skill when the opportunity arose. Even the referee regarded him with a peculiar gaze. After the wall was set, the referee stepped aside and blew the whistle. Mingyu's demeanor sharpened. He took a light jump, beginning his run-up. Suddenly, from the side of the wall, Pedri dashed over, inadvertently colliding with the outermost Portuguese player, momentarily loosening their formation. Mingyu struck the ball with his right foot, sending it soaring through the gap created by Pedri's feigned tumble, hurtling towards the goal. The goalkeeper, positioned on the opposite side, was helpless against the oncoming shot. The ball struck the net with a resounding thud. A goal! Pedri excitedly leaped onto Mingyu's back. However, just as they were about to celebrate, the referee's whistle cut through the air. Looking at the referee's raised hand, signaling an infraction by the attacking side, the Spanish team was bewildered. What had happened? The referee explained, somewhat resigned, that attacking players were prohibited from disrupting the wall with more than 3 players present and must maintain a distance of at least 1 meter from it, or a violation would be called. Mingyu, equally perplexed, wondered when such a rule had come into effect. The referee chuckled wryly, stating, "This has been in effect since 2019. Mingyu exchanged a glance with Pedri, recalling that in 2019, they were still in the reserve team. Thus, they would not take the blame for this. Meanwhile, the referee Enrique looked bewildered as his assistant approached to clarify the rule. Upon hearing the explanation, Enrique displayed a look of resignation, finding the rule rather tedious. This regulation had originally gained popularity in the Premier League, yet even referees occasionally forget it, resulting in numerous instances of attacking players mingling within the wall in recent years. Nonetheless, UEFA has always deemed such tactics as unreasonable, contrary to the spirit of football, and detrimental to its image. Consequently, during this European Championship, UEFA explicitly instructed referees to penalize any occurrences of this nature. Surprisingly, such a situation had not arisen in previous matches, leaving one to wonder if the players were simply aware of the rule or if they had refrained from employing such tactics. Unexpectedly, this rule allowed Spain to take the lead, rendering Portugal fortunate to escape unscathed from the disallowed goal. Nonetheless, Mingyu's free kick served as a warning to Portugal. They were facing a world-class specialist in set pieces. Over the years, Mingyu had scored numerous free kicks, though not with the same terrifying frequency as when he first acquired the skill. After all, familiarity breeds defense, and the conversion rate for free kicks was not as high as one might imagine. Portugal initiated an indirect free kick, gradually advancing from the backfield. However, the Spanish players did not retreat to their half. Instead, they launched a fervent pressing attack. Consequently, the Portuguese players, unable to progress, resorted to incessant backward passes. Goalkeeper Patricio was compelled to act as the last defender, continuously receiving and distributing the ball. Yet, the pressure exerted by Spain was overwhelming, rendering it nearly impossible for Portugal's midfielders to receive passes from the defense. The link between the midfield and defense was effectively severed by the Spanish players. Once again receiving a back pass, Patricio opted for a long clearance, sending the ball forward. However, his kick fell short, landing about 30 meters outside the penalty area. Spanish wingback Alba found himself perfectly positioned, controlling the ball with his chest and unleashing a powerful long-range shot without any adjustments. Although the strike possessed great force, it was far too straightforward, resembling a scenario in which Patricio had inadvertently passed the ball to Alba, who then returned it to him. As the ball approached, Patricio extended his hands outward, preparing to block it and slow its pace before further action. However, the ball struck his palms, and perhaps due to his preoccupation with his next move, it slipped through his grasp. In that instant, Patricio was momentarily bewildered, losing sight of the ball but quickly turning to locate it. Indeed, he saw the ball heading toward the goal, albeit slowed by his hands. At that moment, Patricio's reflexes remained sharp. He leaped backward, managing to deflect the ball out of the net with one hand. Yet, the referee's whistle sounded at that very moment. Everyone turned in astonishment toward the referee, whose gestures were unequivocal as he pointed to the center circle, indicating that the ball had indeed crossed the goal line and the goal was valid. The Portuguese players stood there, dejected, while the Spanish team erupted in joy, rushing to celebrate with the elated Alba in their midst. Once again, a case of the Butterfingers. Chapter 457. Felix's turn, 1 o'clock. Patricio, the Portuguese goalkeeper, had let the opposing shot slip through his fingers and into the net. Ronaldo stood in Spain's half, hands on hips, exuding a sense of helplessness. Despite his relentless efforts on the front lines, the defense behind him seemed to falter recklessly. How could they possibly secure a victory? This goal shattered the deadlock on the field. Enrique reveled in the unexpected delight, directing several players on the pitch amid the celebration. After all, this was the final. They could not play as they had in earlier matches. Following the goal, they needed to regroup and employ a defensive counterattack, compelling Portugal to advance. A fist is most potent when retracted before being thrust forward. Despite conceding, Portugal quickly rallied under the guidance of Ronaldo and the coach, as no one entering the final would willingly relinquish their pursuit of the championship. The match resumed, with Portugal launching an aggressive offensive. Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, and Danilo Pereira formed a luxurious midfield, while Ronaldo, Jota, and Felix comprised a formidable front line. With such a powerful lineup, surrender was not an option. Spain's defense, having consolidated, grew increasingly resilient. Portugal's passing sequences struggled to penetrate Spain's defensive line. Mingyu, retreating to a defensive midfield position, paired with Rodri to bolster central defensive efforts significantly. In the 30th minute, Spain intercepted the ball in their backfield. Mingyu, without hesitation, executed a diagonal pass to the advancing Ferran Torres on the flank. Spain's formation surged forward rapidly, while Portugal's defense retreated equally swiftly. By the time they crossed the halfway line, Portugal's defensive line had repositioned itself. Ferran Torres, emboldened, disregarded Mourinho's call for the ball, opting instead for consecutive stepovers to confront the opposing defenders. However, his club teammate Dias accurately anticipated Torres's next move, extending his long leg to intercept the ball decisively. The momentum of attack and defense shifted. The dispossessed Ferran Torres fell to the ground, expressing his displeasure at the referee with a dismissive wave, alleging a foul by Dias. Yet, the referee remained indifferent, as Portugal's fast break had already crossed the halfway line. In the midfield, Fay received the pass from the backfield and advanced swiftly. Faced with the trailing Rodri, Fay cleverly executed a 1-2 with Bernardo Silva, breaching Rodri's defense. Mingyu sprinted back to defend, but no amount of speed could match the quickness of the ball. After bypassing Rodri, Fay delivered a simple through ball to Felix positioned at the edge of the penalty area. As the heir to Ronaldo in the Portuguese national team, Felix shone brightly in this European championship. Although his goals were few, his vigor and innate talent when in possession of the ball left spectators in awe, signaling that Portugal has promising successors. This particular play began with a pass from Fay to Felix, intended for him to distribute to the flanking Hoda, who had cleverly pulled away from his defender. To everyone's surprise, Felix opted not to pass. Instead, upon receiving phase pass, he executed a half-turn, allowing the ball to glide past him. Laporte was taken aback by the young man's audacity and was unable to react in time, watching helplessly as Felix slipped by, with the ball brushing his toes as it entered the penalty area. The goalkeeper Simon chose to advance, attempting to close off Felix's shooting angle. Felix took a decisive step forward, reaching the edge of the 6-yard box, and unleashed a powerful shot. His strike was remarkably astute. Noticing Simon lowering his center of gravity, Felix directed the ball toward the upper corner of the net. Simon felt the ball graze his head as it sped past, and by the time he reached out, it was far too late. He turned back only to see the ball nestling into the net. The Allianz Arena in Munich erupted into jubilation. Portuguese fans could hardly believe their eyes, chanting Felix's name and hailing him as a savior. His teammates rushed toward him, celebrating exuberantly. Even Ronaldo, like a child, leapt onto Felix's back in sheer delight. This goal liberated the weight of pressure that had burdened the Portuguese players. In that moment, Felix became a household name. At just under 25 years of age, he stands as a formidable force. For the next decade, he will undoubtedly be the focal point of Portugal's attacking line. This goal epitomized a blend of technical prowess and intelligence, as Felix deftly maneuvered past the entire Spanish defense. His dribble exquisite, his shot even more so. The score stood at 1-1, returning both teams to an even keel. Mingyu, witnessing Felix's spectacular strike, wore an expression of resignation. One could hardly fault Laporte. This was a moment of brilliance from a top-tier player, a manifestation of talent that often emerges unexpectedly on the pitch. Such moments, filled with unanticipated dribbles and shots, may never have been rehearsed in training. Yet in that fleeting instant, through sheer chance, they come to fruition, resulting in a divine performance. Much like Bergkamp's mesmerizing touch that left audiences breathless, this was a scene born of spontaneous ingenuity. Returning to the match, this goal invigorated the Portuguese squad. While Spain's offensive efforts faced significant obstacles, yet Spain seemed unhurried, continuing to circulate the ball in midfield, with Mingyu probing for gaps in Portugal's defense. Suddenly, Mingyu made a decisive move, charging through the center. This shift in tempo caught the Portuguese off guard. Their previous rhythm of passing had lulled them into a sense of predictability, leading them to anticipate continued ball movement. However, Mingyu shattered that expectation. Advancing directly after receiving the ball, Portuguese players converged on him, fully aware of the danger he posed. Allowing Mingyu to gain momentum could lead to dire consequences. His surge attracted the attention of at least 4 defenders, yet the crowd gasped as Mingyu deftly navigated through their encirclement, maintaining possession. In close quarters, such pressing often provides Mingyu with opportunities to exploit weaknesses. Spotting a gap as a defender prepared to challenge, he delicately nudged the ball through the opponent's legs. Danilo Pereira attempted to close the distance, but it was too late. Mingyu had already released the ball. This brief exchange of pressure lasted a mere 2 seconds. The Portuguese defense, drawn to Mingyu's actions, momentarily relaxed their vigilance, believing their numerical advantage was secure. To their astonishment, Mingyu successfully threaded the ball through, delivering a pass characterized by its cunning angle and placement. As Cancelo watched the ball emerge from Pereira's legs, he hurriedly adjusted his position to intercept it, only to be met with the shocking sight of a red-clad figure. Pedri, who, against all odds, anticipated the play and surged forward. While the defenders assumed Mingyu was trapped, Pedri believed in his ability to find a way out, timing his run perfectly. Indeed, Mingyu, amidst the 4 defenders, managed to deliver the ball. After evading Cancelo, Pedri stepped into the penalty area, confronted only by the goalkeeper. Patricio lunged forward like a lion pouncing on its prey, aiming to intimidate Pedri as he approached the ball. Yet, what transpired next left the crowd and players in stunned silence. Faced with a clear opportunity, Pedri nonchalantly flicked the ball backward with his heel. Cancelo, attempting to block Pedri's shot, interjected from the side, while Patricio closed in to tightly guard the angle. However, to their disbelief, Pedri opted to pass instead of shoot. The camera pulled back to reveal a player in the red number 10 jersey, akin to a divine apparition, receiving Pedri's pass just outside the penalty area. Without pausing, he struck the ball with precision, sending it crashing into the net. It was Mingyu. This goal ignited the Allianz arena, the roar of celebration resonating across Germany. The significance of this goal transcended mere scoring. It not only restored Spain's lead, but also propelled Mingyu past Ronaldo, making him the all-time leading goal scorer in European Championship history. This marked his 18th goal in the current tournament. Ronaldo stood near the midfield, hands on his hips, gazing at the spirited young man before him, a hint of bitterness lingering on his lips. He had never imagined that merely 4 years after becoming the all-time top scorer in European Championship history, he would be surpassed. The goals he had amassed over 6 tournaments were eclipsed by an opponent in just 1. Was this truly something a human could accomplish? Nevertheless, when the camera captured him, Ronaldo graciously applauded Mingyu in a display of sportsmanship. However, many fans were left bewildered by Pedri's seemingly miraculous vision to locate Mingyu amidst the throng. At that moment, surrounded by 4 defenders, Mingyu did not immediately charge forward after releasing the ball. In slow motion, it was clear that after passing, he did not instantly sprint, but instead maneuvered past a defender, taking a lateral step before darting forward. Upon receiving the pass, Pedri had already noticed Mingyu breaking free from the crowd. Thus, he resolutely advanced into the penalty area and chose to deliver the ball to Mingyu. He understood the significance of this goal for Mingyu, a strike that would elevate him above Ronaldo's total in the European Championship, and to do so in Ronaldo's presence. This moment felt akin to the curtain falling on one legendary era as a new one began to unfold. After scoring, Mingyu exuberantly embraced Pedri. The two had forged a remarkable synergy during their 2 years together in Barcelona's first team. Although Mingyu had departed from Barcelona, their understanding remained intact within the Spanish national team. Despite Pedri's jesting about Ferran Torres claiming Mingyu's affection, he knew deep down that he was still the one who complimented Mingyu best. On this occasion, he refrained from taking the shot himself, aware that such an opportunity in a European Championship final was rarely relinquished by a forward. However, for the sake of fulfilling Mingyu's pre-match sentiments, he willingly passed up that chance. Now that was true love. After the celebration, upon returning to his half, Mingyu encountered Ronaldo, who approached him for a warm embrace. They whispered a few words to each other before parting ways. Ronaldo's gentlemanly conduct elicited applause and encouragement from the crowd. Following Mingyu's goal, both teams seemed to lose their vigor. Although Portugal trailed, they showed no inclination to quickly equalize, lacking any intent to push forward. It was as if Mingyu's goal had plunged the players into a contemplative silence. In the 45th minute, the referee opted not to add any stoppage time, sensing the players' desires to conclude the half, and thus blew the whistle. The score stood at 2-1, with Spain leading Portugal. Chapter 459. Ronaldo's fury. The news of Mingyu breaking Ronaldo's European Championship goal record swiftly reverberated around the globe. Mingyu's name once again became the focal point of public discourse. Many fans lamented that Ronaldo and Messi had dominated the footballing world for a decade, and once they retired, it would be challenging to find players of comparable stature. Yet they had not anticipated that, while Ronaldo still played, Mingyu would emerge spectacularly. Through a series of matches and goals, he steadily ascended to the pinnacle of the footballing realm. In just 7 World Cup matches, he matched Miroslav Klose's total goal tally and, in his first World Cup appearance, lifted the coveted trophy. That same year, he clinched both the FIFA World Player of the Year and the Ballon d'Or, establishing himself as a preeminent star. Each year, at his club, he secured at least 1 championship trophy and consistently claimed the Golden Boot. Upon joining Manchester City, he ensured that not a single title was claimed by others. With a quintuple and a treble under his belt, he became the proverbial conqueror in the eyes of other Premier League teams. In his inaugural European Championship, he shattered Ronaldo's 6-tournament goal record, becoming the all-time leading scorer in the competition. Furthermore, with Spain currently leading at halftime, should they clinch the championship, Mingyu would become the first player in history to win both the World Cup and the European Championship in his debut appearances. He was at the zenith of his career, and this pinnacle promised to endure for an extended period. The expressions of the Spanish king and the Portuguese president in the stands spoke volumes. The Spanish king exuded confidence, while the smile on the Portuguese president's face appeared somewhat strained. In Portugal's locker room, spirits were low. Goalkeeper Patricio lamented his blunder during the first half, a mistake he found difficult to forgive as a veteran player in such a high-stakes final. Their leader, Ronaldo, sat heavily on his chair, breathing heavily. Though Ronaldo maintained excellent physical condition, nearing 40, his body's capabilities were no longer what they once were. The intensity of the first half had taken its toll, and he felt his body beginning to falter. However, this was his final major tournament, and he was determined not to exit like Messi, burdened by regrets. Observing Ronaldo's fierce determination reignited a spark among the other Portuguese players. In the Spanish locker room, Mingyu appeared relaxed, leaning against a cabinet with his eyes closed in contemplation. Enrique passionately recounted tales of glory. The current squad lacked the players who had once led Spain to 2 European championships and 3 consecutive major tournament victories over a decade ago. Yet listening to Enrique recount that historical era stirred a fervor within the team. Many players had first encountered football during that time. The former Spanish team had wielded absolute dominance, claiming 3 major tournament titles within 4 years and defending their European championship crown, casting a shadow over the world of football. That era epitomized the pinnacle of Spanish football, with nearly every team studying their tactics. Even now, remnants of those strategies lingered within the Spanish squad. Mingyu's presence had only enhanced their tactical prowess. In the past, Xavi had been the unequivocal core of midfield, with every attack initiated from his feet. However, Xavi's physical attributes paled in comparison to Mingyu's, allowing the current Spanish team to excel in midfield orchestration beyond what was achieved in previous years. Mingyu provided a dual threat in midfield, both offensively and defensively, acting as a formidable barrier to any attempts to breach Spain's central defense. Opponents were compelled to attack from the flanks, rendering their offensive strategies more manageable. After Enrique concluded his speech, Mingyu rose to his feet, prompting all the other players to do the same. Extending his right hand, he proclaimed, "Brothers, the championship of the European Cup is ours for the taking. The honors of the past must be reclaimed by our own hands. Not just this European Cup, but the next World Cup and the subsequent European Cup. The championship shall remain ours. We are destined to create a new dynasty." The fervor in Mingyu's voice ignited a passionate response among all players and staff, causing their blood to surge with excitement. Enrique's eyes welled with emotion. If what Mingyu said came true, he would ascend to become the pinnacle of the Spanish national team. Aragonés, the legendary coach who led Spain to victory in the 2008 European Cup, and Del Bosque, who guided Spain to triumph in the 2010 World Cup and the 2012 European Cup, both hold a higher historical status than Enrique. However, if Spain were to secure the championship in this European Cup, Enrique would undoubtedly surpass Aragonés. Should Spain also clinch the next World Cup, Enrique's stature would soar, securing his position as the greatest coach in the history of the Spanish national team. Amidst the thunderous cheers of the players, both teams returned to the pitch. After a tense 15-minute wait, the fans erupted into applause as the players re-entered the field, eager to witness the birth of a European Cup champion. They were keen to see whether Ronaldo could fulfill his dream of winning the European Cup in his final international match, or if Mingyu would continue his legendary journey, becoming the first player in history to win both the World Cup and the European Cup in his debut appearances. With the referee's whistle, the second half commenced, with Portugal kicking off first. Immediately, Ronaldo activated his attacking mode. Aware that his stamina would not last long, he aimed to strike unexpectedly while the opposition was still settling. However, this plan was disrupted by the sudden appearance of Mingyu. As Ronaldo noticed Mingyu approaching, a competitive spirit ignited within him. Chapter 460. Equalizing the score, Ronaldo felt a rush of nostalgia, as if he had returned to his early days. Facing Mingyu, he hesitated not a moment, executing 2 consecutive step-overs with agility that drew gasps from the crowd. It had been many years since he employed such flamboyant dribbling techniques. In his nascent career, he was affectionately dubbed the Step-Over Kid. Transitioning from Sporting Lisbon to Manchester United, he captured the hearts of fans. Back then, his name on the jersey was a nod to the iconic Ronaldo of Brazil, known as the Extraterrestrial. At that time, he was endearingly referred to as Little Ronaldo. However, his elaborate dribbling and penchant for theatrics soon irked manager Ferguson. On one occasion, after outpacing defenders, he attempted to earn a penalty in the box, but was seen through by the referee. In a fit of rage, he berated the official, only to receive a red card and watch as Manchester United lost that match. It was rare for Ferguson to admonish him in the locker room, firmly telling him that if he did not abandon his flashy style and penchant for diving, he would forever remain Little Ronaldo. Those words pierced Ronaldo's pride. A deeply proud individual, he refused to accept that being called Little Ronaldo was an honor. He vowed to ensure that when people spoke of Ronaldo, they referred to him, not the Brazilian star. From that day onward, he simplified his dribbling, prioritizing practicality over flamboyance, and decreased his theatrics. Striving to become a commendable icon, Ronaldo exerted efforts beyond ordinary comprehension. Indeed, he achieved everything he desired at Manchester United. Yet, the club could not facilitate his ultimate transformation. Thus, Ferguson made the difficult decision to let him go, believing it was in Ronaldo's best interest. Upon arriving at Real Madrid, Ronaldo underwent a remarkable metamorphosis, establishing himself as one of the most formidable forwards on the planet. With 3 consecutive Champions League titles, he built his legacy there. Moving to Juventus marked a pivotal moment in his career. It seemed as though he had lost his spark. The dreariness of Serie A proved to be a challenge, leading him to depart last summer. After much contemplation between Manchester United and Sporting Lisbon, he ultimately chose to return to his roots, a sentiment that resonates deeply within the hearts of many. This season, he aided Sporting Lisbon in securing the Primeira Liga double. After the season concluded, he opted to part ways with the club, planning to announce his retirement post-European Cup. Now, Ronaldo faced his greatest challenge in the tournament, executing 2 rapid step-overs. Mingyu recognized that Ronaldo's shoulders remained steady, indicating feints. Realizing Mingyu was unfazed, Ronaldo shifted his left foot to his side, attempting to utilize his speed to force a breakthrough. Mingyu, taken aback by Ronaldo's quick first step, nonetheless matched his pace, leveraging his superior physicality to keep up with Ronaldo. The two collided shoulder to shoulder, causing Ronaldo to furrow his brow as he felt the tremendous force of the impact. Reminiscent of encounters with Ibrahimovic, yet, gritting his teeth, he remained unyielding, entangling with Mingyu. The Portuguese fans in the stands were moved to tears. It had been far too long since they had witnessed such valiant dribbling from Ronaldo. Although somewhat disheveled, considering his age, it was enough to evoke admiration from all Portuguese players present. Strangely, as if sensing the destined confrontation between the two, none of the other players intervened. Ronaldo stubbornly pushed forward, struggling against Mingyu's youthful strength. Mingyu, astonished, realized that his current physical prowess far surpassed that of Ronaldo. Yet in this contest, he found himself at a disadvantage. How could this man be so formidable? With Mingyu close enough to observe the veins bulging on Ronaldo's neck, it was evident that he was exerting every ounce of strength he possessed. Carrying Mingyu, they arrived at the edge of the penalty area, approximately 25 meters away. Luo gritted his teeth, took a step forward, and forcefully pushed Mingyu back half a step with his own body. This slight movement granted Luo a brief moment to catch his breath. With determination, he exerted force in place, swinging his left leg with the ferocity of a whip, striking the ball with tremendous power. The ball zipped through the air, soaring towards the goal from outside the penalty area. Goalkeeper Simon, fully focused, had already prepared for the save upon witnessing Luo's strike. However, he was taken aback by the astonishing quality of the shot. After battling with Mingyu for over 10 seconds, Luo's shot still exhibited remarkable strength and an acute angle, leaving spectators in awe of his enduring prowess. Simon did everything within his means, yet he was powerless to prevent the ball from finding the net. The score was now 2-2. Luo, with a breathtaking goal, had equalized for the Portuguese team. In that moment, he was the eternal warrior of Portugal. Yet, as the camera panned to Luo, the audience was astonished to see him not celebrating with his iconic gesture, but trembling as he clutched his right leg, slowly sinking to the ground. Mingyu hurriedly supported Luo while shouting for the team doctor at the sidelines. The Portuguese fans immediately covered their mouths, feeling a sense of dread. Although the team had equalized, they would have preferred the goal never happened if it meant Luo was injured. The team doctor rushed onto the field and sprinted to Luo's side. Mingyu silently stepped back, gazing at the man whose teeth were clenched, tears welling in his eyes, feeling a wave of melancholy wash over him. Chapter 461. The goal that broke Luo's heart. The entire stadium fell silent. Both Portuguese and Spanish fans clasped their hands over their hearts, making gestures of prayer. Portuguese players gathered around Luo, their faces etched with concern as they looked upon his pained expression. The team doctor knelt beside him, pressing his ear to Luo's lips, inquiring about his condition. After a thorough examination, he could only shake his head in resignation towards the coach on the sidelines. Coach Santos felt a darkness descend upon him, yet he quickly called upon Andrés Silva, who had been warming up, to prepare for the impending situation. However, the tremor in his hand betrayed his inner turmoil. Just as the team had equalized, the core player he had entrusted with responsibility had succumbed to injury. A thigh muscle strain, a setback that would require several weeks of rest for any player. For Luo, however, this injury signified the end of his career. Once again, in a European Championship final, and at a critical juncture, he found himself injured. With one hand covering his face, hot tears streamed down his cheeks, while the other hand clenched his leg in frustration, as if seeking to mask his inner agony with physical pain. As Luo was secured onto a stretcher and slowly carried off the field, Mingyu felt a pang of reluctance within him. As the match resumed, the Spanish players were taken aback to find that the morale of the Portuguese team had not diminished. Rather, it had surged. In Luo's absence, their passing became more rapid. Previously, every attack had relied on Luo's touch, yet his fatigue had hindered his ability to lead swift counterattacks. Without him, the younger Portuguese players seemed to shed their shackles. Their passing speed and intensity elevated to new heights. The Spanish defense, caught off guard, was penetrated down the flanks. Newly substituted Andrés Silva, upon receiving the ball on the wing, surged forward and delivered a precise cross that evaded the defensive Eric Garcia. Felix, arriving in the center, attempted a shot. However, due to the ball's velocity, he failed to connect properly, causing it to ricochet off his shin and strike the goalpost before going out of play. Nevertheless, this offensive play sent a chill down the spine of the Spanish defense, as goalkeeper Simon failed to react to such a swift close-range attack. The glaring vulnerability in their defense heightened everyone's alertness. Mingyu, breaking from his usual demeanor, rushed over to the defense, loudly admonishing them to focus. The match was still tied. Luo's departure seemingly had no effect on the Portuguese team, yet it inadvertently caused the Spanish players to lower their guard, almost leading to a grave mistake. With the offensive restored, the Spanish players concentrated, gradually pushing from back. Mingyu refrained from rushing the attack, patiently orchestrating passes from midfield, aware that although the Portuguese team appeared unaffected, they would soon realize the impact of losing their leader. For 2 decades, Luo had been a beacon for this team. At times, one might underestimate his importance, yet in critical moments, the Portuguese players instinctively looked to that position on the field. When they discovered that he was absent, the foundation of their resolve began to crumble. Mingyu awaited this moment. Gradually, the Portuguese players began to exhibit signs of anxiety. Without Luo to command the team, they resorted to individual efforts. Felix, deprived of Luo's shield, floundered like a novice, darting about the pitch yet failing to find purpose. While the formidable Fernandes thrived at Manchester United, he struggled to find his footing in this team. Bernardo Silva attempted to step up, but upon seeing the opposing number 10 in red, his confidence waned. A smile crept onto Mingyu's face as he sensed the repercussions of Luo's absence beginning to permeate through the Portuguese players. In the 68th minute, Mingyu executed a clever 1-2 with Pedri on the flank, accelerating past the unsuspecting defensive midfielder Danilo Pereira with ease. Confronted with the Portuguese defense, his gaze hardened with determination as he deftly maneuvered, evading 2 central defenders and directly entering the penalty area. Faced with the advancing goalkeeper, Mingyu opted for a low, precise shot rather than a powerful strike. Goalkeeper Patricio was unable to lower his center of gravity in time, extending his right foot in a futile attempt to intercept the ball, which rolled past him just as his foot reached out. As he watched the ball slowly find its way into the far corner of the net, Mingyu raised his arms in triumph, unleashing a roar of victory. With Luo's earlier goal having drawn him level, this strike allowed Mingyu to reclaim the lead, positioning him once again at the pinnacle of the European Championship's all-time scoring list, with Luo unable to catch up. Witnessing that goal, Ronaldo, who had steadfastly remained on the sidelines, finally succumbed to despair. During the 2016 European Championship, he had been present on the sidelines, observing as his teammates delivered a last-minute victory over France, clinching the first European Championship title in the nation's history. 8 years later, he found himself once again on the sidelines, yearning for a miraculous repeat. However, the man destined to be a football legend saw his dreams shattered once more. As he gazed upon the player being hoisted high by his teammates, a flicker of relief crossed Ronaldo's eyes. It was time to bid farewell. Shaking his head, He resisted the staff's attempts to carry him away, calling upon 2 attendants to support him as he limped into the players' tunnel. At the entrance of the tunnel, he heard the astonished gasps from the stands and turned to see Mingyu sprinting towards him. Chapter 462. The birth of the king of the European Championship. As Mingyu was being lifted, he inadvertently caught sight of Ronaldo hobbling off the field. He motioned for the crowd to set him down and, amidst the cheers, rushed towards Ronaldo. Curiosity peaked among the spectators. Was Mingyu here to bid farewell to Ronaldo? Approaching Ronaldo, he urged the attendants to release him. Mingyu embraced Ronaldo and whispered in his ear, "You are a true warrior. You have not lost." With a smile, Ronaldo replied, "All right, a loss is a loss. I'm not one to shy away from defeat, but don't celebrate too early. The match is not over yet. Be wary of a last-minute setback." Though both were skeptical of such an occurrence, Ronaldo's words remained unspoken. Mingyu patted Ronaldo's shoulder, advising him to recuperate. Watching the attendants assist Ronaldo away, Mingyu sighed, realizing yet another star was departing for good. Back on the field, the breath of the Portuguese players dissipated entirely in the face of Mingyu's goal. The repercussions of Ronaldo's departure erupted. The team lost its spirit, leaving the other players uncertain of their next steps. Should they attack with full force or adopt a defensive counter? Questions loomed over the young Portuguese players. Despite being core members of their teams, found themselves as mere subordinates in Ronaldo's presence. With their leader suddenly absent, confusion took hold of their hearts. In the 75th minute, Mingyu intercepted a pass from Fei in midfield, executing a 30-meter through ball directly to Pedri's feet. Upon receiving the ball, Pedri cut in, evaded a defender, and unleashed a brilliantly angled shot that rendered Patricio powerless. The score was now 4-2, effectively sealing the match. The Portuguese players sank helplessly to the ground, their eyes reflecting disappointment and confusion, leaving the Portuguese fans in the stands heartbroken. Indeed, the era belonging to Portugal and Ronaldo had concluded, while the era of Spain and Mingyu had dawned. Amidst the jubilant cheers of the Spanish fans, in the 80th minute, Mingyu unleashed a long-range shot from outside the box, solidifying the score at 5-2. This marked his 5th hat-trick in the European Championship, elevating his total tally to 20 goals in the tournament. This achievement is one that commands respect, a milestone that future generations will look up to. Yet, despair looms as this record-setting player is only 23 years old, with over a decade ahead to further his achievements. Unprecedented and unmatched, it is anticipated that upon his retirement, Mingyu will leave behind a legacy of insurmountable records. In the 93rd minute, as Simon launched the ball forward, the referee signaled the end of the match. Instantly, the Allianz Arena in Munich transformed into a sea of red. Had it not been for the presence of thousands of security personnel, the Spanish fans would have surged onto the pitch. For the Spaniards, this was an extraordinarily joyous moment. Between 2008 and 2012, the Spanish team became one of the most formidable in football history, defending their European Championship title and achieving a trifecta of World Cup victories, thus creating new historical milestones. However, since 2014, the Spanish team had plummeted from its zenith to the depths of despair, with fans gradually losing hope for their team as resurgence. Unexpectedly, 6 years later, a young prodigy emerged as the savior of the Spanish team. Not only did he lead Spain to reclaim the World Cup trophy after a 12-year hiatus in 2022, but he also became the highest goal scorer in World Cup history. Although currently tied with Klose, no one doubts that Mingyu's scoring prowess will not cease. 2 years later, in the 2024 European Championship final, this young talent once again showcased his remarkable scoring efficiency, guiding Spain to victory over their old rivals, Portugal, and lifting the coveted Henri Delaney trophy. The Spanish players surrounded Mingyu, hoisting him high and parading him around the field, proclaiming him as their leader. Enrique, filled with happiness, followed closely, admiring the young star and affirming his wise decision to include him in the national squad. Enrique felt as if he were living a dream. With the World Cup and European Championship titles coming in succession, it was hard to believe that upon his appointment as manager of the Spanish national team, the squad had struggled to qualify for the World Cup. Little did he expect that recruiting Mingyu would herald a new era for the team. The young player's progress was astonishing. Each encounter revealed his growth. Particularly in this European Championship, Mingyu's offensive prowess was unparalleled, rendering him unstoppable. Meanwhile, in distant Spain, in the Plaza de Madrid, Outside the Camp Nou, countless Spanish fans reveled in their victory. This triumph marked Spain as the first team in European Championship history to secure 4 titles. Since the inaugural tournament in 1960, the European Championship has spanned 64 years and 17 editions. Previously, Spain and Germany had both secured 3 titles, but today, Spain finally ascended to the pinnacle of European Championship history. The awards ceremony commenced shortly thereafter. The Spanish players lined up in 2 rows beneath the constructed arch. The first to ascend the podium was the officiating referee team from England, who effectively managed the match's proceedings. Despite disallowing a free kick to Mingyu, their officiating throughout was commendable. Following the referee's presentation of awards, the Portuguese team entered to receive their runner-up honors. After a brief recovery in the changing room, Ronaldo was able to walk slowly again, leading the dejected Portuguese players onto the podium. UEFA officials adorned them with silver medals. Although warm applause filled the air, the sting of being the runners-up lingered. At last, the most exhilarating moment arrived as the Spanish team emerged from the arch, making their way to the podium in the stands. As he walked, Mingyu spotted legendary Spanish players like Xavi and Iniesta, each radiating joy as they embraced every member of the team. When they embraced Mingyu, their excitement was palpable. Having endured the era of 3 consecutive championships and the subsequent dark days, they understood the caliber of players needed to lead Spain. Mingyu's presence ignited a glimmer of hope, and indeed, dreams had come to fruition. Upon reaching the podium, UEFA officials draped gleaming gold medals around their necks. The sincerity of the smiles on the Spanish players' faces was unmatched. Ultimately, UEFA President Ceferin approached with the illustrious Henri Delaney trophy, dispensing with any superfluous words as he handed the trophy to Mingyu. Together with his teammates, Mingyu raised the trophy triumphantly above his head, triggering a dazzling display of fireworks in the center of the field. Congratulations to Spain, the champions of the 17th European Championship. This night in Germany belonged to Spain. Descending from the podium to the field, the atmosphere became even more exuberant. Each player took turns kissing the trophy, unbothered by the numerous lip prints left by others before them. This was the pinnacle of honor for every European player, and today they had finally attained it. At that moment, however, Mingyu had little time to celebrate with his teammates, for his fiancée, Catherine, approached him with a radiant smile. Their wedding was set to take place after the conclusion of the European Championship. This championship victory served as the most splendid wedding gift for Mingyu. Amid the well wishes from fans worldwide, Mingyu and Catherine shared a deep kiss. Chapter 463, Eternal Legend, Finale. A month had passed since the European Championship, yet discussions surrounding Mingyu showed no signs of abating. This was largely due to the grandeur of his wedding, where one could scarcely turn without encountering a former Ballon d'Or winner or FIFA World Player of the Year. The most astonishing presence was a man in a sharp suit, named George Weah. Once the most formidable forward of AC Milan, he had claimed both the Ballon d'Or and FIFA World Player of the Year honors in 1995. Yet, his current status overshadowed all others present. He was the president of the Republic of Liberia. Indeed, this was one of the most remarkable tales in football history. An athlete transitioning from the pitch to the political arena, ultimately becoming the president of a nation. Such a narrative would be deemed implausible even in fiction. The elite athletes from various sports were in attendance. As Mingyu had undoubtedly emerged as the undisputed darling of football, having achieved World Cup, European Championship, UEFA Champions League titles, the FIFA World Player of the Year, and the Ballon d'Or, all by the tender age of 23. Should his career continue on this trajectory, there would be no doubt regarding his place in history. Indeed, some had already proclaimed him the greatest of all time. Even Brazilian football legend Pelé had acknowledged that Mingyu was the most formidable player he had ever witnessed, conceding that even he had to bow to such greatness. While the accuracy of such sentiments remained uncertain, they undeniably laid a strong foundation for Mingyu's legacy. This summer witnessed monumental changes in European football. UEFA President Ceferin was embroiled in a scandal involving the embezzlement of substantial funds, leading to his resignation. Real Madrid President Florentino Perez reignited discussions surrounding the European Super League. This time, the top teams from the 5 major leagues agreed to join this newly established league, effectively sidelining UEFA. The upcoming UEFA Champions League and Europa League appeared to be rendered insignificant. Previously, Major European clubs had formed a European Football Union, which now boasted 20-member teams. These teams would comprise the inaugural participants of the European Super League. The tournament format mirrored that of the European Championship, with 4 additional spots allocated for champions from smaller leagues to compete for entry. The most enticing aspect was undoubtedly the staggering prize pool of $4 billion, which contributed to the swift acceptance of the Super League. Even teams that emerged from smaller leagues would secure approximately $50 million in prize money. The distribution of funds will be based on team strength, influence, and historical performance, categorized into 4 tiers. For instance, Manchester City could anticipate around $300 million in rewards. To put this into perspective, the Champions League winner typically receives only €100 million, while the Super League's $300 million represents a welcome bonus for participation. Albeit only for this inaugural season, yet it was compelling enough to attract numerous clubs. From a following season onward, qualification for the Super League would depend on league performance, with the top 4 teams from the 5 major leagues advancing directly to the main event, while the remaining spots would serve as a boon for teams from smaller leagues. This arrangement left the football associations of the 5 major leagues with little room for objection, as it was clear that it would significantly stimulate their leagues. Every team aspired to join the Super League, relegating the Champions League and Europa League to a secondary status. However, UEFA was reluctant to relinquish its most lucrative asset, prompting negotiations with Florentino Perez. The outcomes of these discussions remained shrouded in mystery, but the arrival of the new season ignited fervor across Europe once more. In their opening match, Manchester City decisively triumphed over Manchester United, securing the first trophy of a new season, the Charity Shield. Mingyu completed a hat-trick, becoming the all-time leading scorer against Manchester United in Premier League history. Post-marriage, Mingyu displayed an even greater maturity. The Super League had supplanted the Champions League, which was indefinitely suspended by UEFA, though the Europa League continued unabated. In the draw for the Super League, Mingyu's Manchester City found themselves grouped with Juventus, Bayern Munich, and Paris Saint-Germain, a true group of death. Such a fearsome group had never been seen in the history of the Champions League. Yet, the Super League promised to be an extraordinary spectacle. Who among the fans could possibly resist such a thrilling contest? However, Manchester City continues to assert its dominance in the European Super League, having triumphed in the first 3 rounds with a resounding 3-0 victory over Juventus, a 2-0 win against Bayern Munich, and a narrow 3-2 success against Paris Saint-Germain. This season, aside from the captivating European League, another astonishing revelation is the return of Messi, who had announced his retirement a year prior, rejoining Paris Saint-Germain to once again collaborate with Neymar. The attacking trio of Messi, Neymar, and Sterling is undoubtedly on par with the formidable front line of Real Madrid. This season, Real Madrid has not made significant expenditures, as the ongoing European Super League has preoccupied them considerably. In the domestic league, Manchester City maintains an absolute advantage, achieving consecutive victories and swiftly securing the title of halfway champions in the Premier League, with Liverpool trailing a staggering 7 points behind. In the European Super League, Manchester City emerged as the group leader, facing Barcelona, who qualified as the 3rd-place team in their group. Despite the sentimental encounter with his former club, Mingyu was unrelenting, scoring 5 goals across 2 legs and propelling Manchester City to a comprehensive victory over Barcelona, thus advancing to the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals, they faced Liverpool, who were in hot pursuit in the league. In a fiercely contested match, Liverpool exerted their utmost efforts, but Mingyu proved to be the linchpin, netting 3 goals and providing 2 assists across both matches to facilitate their progression. The semi-finals pitted them against Real Madrid, and this clash left many lamenting that such exceptional teams had to face each other at this stage. In the first leg, at Real Madrid's home ground, Mbapp scored twice and Haaland added 1, while Mingyu's 2 goals failed to alter Manchester City's fortunes, resulting in their first defeat of the season. Following this setback, European media unanimously proclaimed the end of Manchester City's era, suggesting that Mingyu alone could not contend against a multitude of stars. However, in the second leg back at Manchester City's home, Real Madrid appeared disoriented, where Mingyu achieved a remarkable quadruple, shouldering the team to the final of the inaugural European Super League. This loss prompted Real Madrid's coach Ancelotti to resign immediately, having suffered 3 consecutive defeats to Manchester City and Mingyu. leading this proud Italian to choose departure. In the final of the European Super League, they faced Paris Saint-Germain, a team boasting Messi, Neymar, and Sterling. The two teams had previously battled to a draw in the group stage, with Mingyu scoring a last-minute winner in their first encounter, while the second match ended in a stalemate due to both teams already having qualified. This final marked the third confrontation between the two sides this season, hosted at Real Madrid's iconic Santiago Bernabéu Stadium. Florentino Perez initially intended for Real Madrid to secure the championship on home turf, but was caught off guard by Manchester City's earlier triumph in the semi-finals, inciting his fury. Thus, when Ancelotti announced his resignation, Perez agreed without hesitation. Rumor has it that Perez is now courting former French national coach Zidane to return to the Bernabéu, aiming to helm the Galactic Empire once again. His intent is to bring Mingyu to Madrid. If he cannot defeat him, he wishes to acquire him. Yet, Manchester City would never easily part with Mingyu, as his presence signifies victory. Ultimately, in the European Super League final, Mingyu clinched the title for Manchester City with a spectacular long-range strike, securing a 1-0 victory over Paris Saint-Germain. Prior to this, Manchester City had swept all championships, and upon winning the European Super League, they achieved the remarkable feat of 7 titles. The formidable Manchester City has become a nightmare across Europe, while Mingyu reclaimed both the World Footballer of the Year and the Ballon d'Or. Historically, only 12 players have simultaneously won these two prestigious awards. But Mingyu stands alone as the only player to have won both consecutively for 2 years. As the season concluded, it remains unknown what conditions Florentino Perez agreed upon with Manchester City, but the club announced that Mingyu could transfer for a staggering $600 million, should Real Madrid meet the price. Nevertheless, Mingyu firmly declared that he would never join Real Madrid, as he has been a devoted supporter of the red and blue since childhood. This declaration incited considerable anger from Mingyu, who perceived it as a disrespectful gesture. Furthermore, Manchester City fans expressed their discontent with the club's management, leading to a significant strike in Manchester. In the end, Mingyu opted for a peaceful dissolution of his contract with Manchester City, departing alongside Coach Guardiola. As he left, the entirety of Manchester was engulfed in sorrow, while the rival Manchester United celebrated jubilantly, as if a weight had been lifted from their shoulders. After parting ways, Mingyu became a free agent, attracting interest from nearly every major club in Europe. Even Messi reached out, hoping Mingyu would join him at Paris, but Mingyu resolutely declined and returned to Barcelona, donning the cherished jersey he had longed for. Guardiola also returned to Barcelona, with Xavi willingly stepping aside to serve as his assistant. In the 2025-2026 season, Barcelona regrouped. Although they faltered in the semi-finals of the European Super League, they emerged triumphant in La Liga, with Mingyu exhibiting his prowess by scoring an astonishing 70 goals, once again topping the league's scoring charts. Having returned from the Premier League, Mingyu's skills had reached their zenith, rendering all teams in La Liga, except for Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, mere stepping stones. Upon his return, Barcelona reclaimed the La Liga title and secured the Copa del Rey, a double triumph that brought tears of joy to their fans, who exclaimed that their glory days had returned. As the season concluded, the World Cup loomed. Rejoining the national team, Mingyu led a robust Spanish squad effortlessly to the finals. There, they faced a formidable French team, intent on claiming the championship. After 90 minutes of stalemate, during extra time, Mingyu unleashed a breathtaking strike from within the box, leaving the entirety of France in tears. Defending their title, Spain once again became the center of attention. With 3 consecutive major tournament victories, Spanish fans felt a nostalgic return to the glory years of 2008 and 2012. Over 4 years, Mingyu's skills reached their pinnacle, with young stars like Pedri, Fati, and Ferran Torres blossoming into world-class talents. The attacking lineup of the Spanish team became a formidable force. 2 years later, in the European Championship final, Spain once again triumphed over France, successfully defending their title. Mingyu became the first player in history to hold 4 major tournament championships. In the year 2030, Mingyu led the Spanish national team to victory, securing the World Cup championship for 3 consecutive tournaments. He thus became only the second player in the history of the World Cup to achieve 3 championships, and notably the first to accomplish a triple crown. The venerable Pelé, now 90 years old, publicly expressed his congratulations to Mingyu, candidly stating that Li's accomplishments have long surpassed his own, asserting that the title of king of football rightfully belongs to Mingyu. In 2032, during the final of the European Championship, the Spanish team triumphed over Italy, becoming the first team in history to achieve a third consecutive victory in the tournament. Mingyu had indeed become a genuine football legend. At the tender age of 30, he announced his retirement, a revelation that sent shockwaves around the globe, drawing a multitude of media representatives to Barcelona. Accompanied by his 7-year-old son, he attended the press conference, stating, "I have no further aspirations on the pitch. I have shattered every record I could, save for those that require time to accumulate. I possess 3 trophies from both the World Cup and the European Championship, and I believe many players harbor resentment towards me. I have also secured 4 titles in the Super League, including a triple crown, and I'm certain that Mr. Florentino has long wished for my departure." Seated in the audience, the Real Madrid president wore a wry smile, enduring the playful jibes from the world's foremost football star. Indeed, Mingyu's presence had deprived Florentino of joy over the years. However, upon learning of Li's retirement, Florentino personally traveled to Barcelona to persuade him to reconsider, understanding that Li was the pinnacle of attraction in the sports world. As long as Li remained, football would not suffer a decline in viewership. Yet, Li remained resolute in his decision, feeling that football had lost its purpose for him. Nevertheless, his son, Li Fei, exhibited extraordinary athletic talent, and it was Mingyu's aspiration to nurture his son into a player who could carry on his legacy. My friends, all gatherings must eventually conclude. It is time to bid farewell. Mingyu left the world with a striking silhouette. The number 10 of the Spanish team would forever be enshrined as a legend. 1 year after his retirement, FIFA honored Mingyu with the prestigious title of World Football King, with a 90-year-old Pelé seated in a wheelchair, tremblingly placing the trophy into Li's hands. "Child, you are truly remarkable." Mingyu bowed his head and affectionately whispered in Pelé's ear in Chinese. "It is not I who am remarkable. It is my system that is exceptional." Observing Pelé's bewildered expression, Mingyu burst into hearty laughter. The end.